in Barnet. They suffered stab wounds in the attack and are now being looked after in hospital.
We need to make sure that when people carry out these activities, they feel the full force of the law. People think they can get away with this. The person who firebombed a few weeks ago is out on bail. That's not full force of the law.
This crisis, it's a crisis for all of us. It's not enough to simply say we stand with Jewish communities. Of course we do, but we must show it and act it. And the responsibility lies with each and every one of us, because it is our fight too.
Let's stop importing people from countries where anti-Semitism is the norm. And if our London Mayor, Sadiq Khan, in his infinite wisdom and belief in diversity, thinks that's the sort of diverse view that it's OK to have on the streets of London and the police don't get involved, don't be shocked, and don't you bloody dare claim to be shocked or upset or care about Jewish people being stabbed on the streets of our capital city in broad daylight. This is on you.
You keep getting proven right every single time. Jews are not safe in this country.
Well, absolutely. No one can be surprised or feeling shocked that this happened. No Jew certainly is. I mean, we had Zach Balansky last week saying this was just a perceived threat. Well, we can see this isn't any perception. This is real. This is happening on the streets. This isn't just an anti-Semitic terror attack. This is an attack on Britain, on the Western liberal democracy and values.
The first politician that uses the word shocking, I might just go and throttle him, because this is anything but shocking. It's the most expected thing is almost overdue, if you ask me, because, I mean, I just left Israel last week. I thought it would be the last time we were woken up by explosions, but clearly not.
The Jewish community is our community, and their safety is our safety. And we have to make it absolutely clear, robust, strong leadership, and this has to stop, because otherwise it's going to be, it's almost being normalised, and it's terrifying, and we're sick of it. Enough's enough.
Our plan is a complete step change in how we protect communities, moving beyond piecemeal responses.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Very good morning to you. Just gone 6 o'clock. It's Wednesday, the 17th of June. This is Jeremy Kyle and Talk Breakfast. Talk, of course, the home of common sense and the place that your views on the day's news are heard. The A-team are in on the day, of course, that England kick off their 2026 World Cup game. Croatia later at 9 o'clock. TalkSport, our sister station, has got absolutely everything today. In the build-up, the actual match, it'll be incredible. I don't know what you're doing, we'll talk more. We've got Harry Redknapp, we've got several football legends on the show this morning. It's coming home is what I'm like the rest of you. I'm not interested, then I am, then I get excited, then I get disappointed, and I'm going to utter the line that I didn't think I wanted to. Could it happen? Oh, it started already. Tom is in 0344 499 1000. You can send a voice note on that number, 0344 499 1000. You can text this show throughout the next 4 hours, 87222. What are you waking up to? I love this story more than I love life itself. Front page of The Sun, the brilliant Sun. Vlad fires on Brit OAPs in Channel. Alan, 71, and Jane, 69, were just merrily boating, just on their way, just having a thing. Suddenly, this bloody big Russian warship shows itself. Apparently, there was a bit of fog, and maybe the OAPs were in the way. Fires warning shots into the sky. Cue complete bedlam. This is escalation. Vladimir Putin's... The only thing that it struck me as, right, apart from the fact that they both went, if we'd had weapons, we'd have fired back. Don't you love old people? A lot. The thing that struck me was, that's 2 Russian warships in the last 72 hours that have been in English waters, which is probably more than we've got in our entire fleet, which is quite worrying, isn't it? They boarded one on Monday, and yesterday it was firing shots at 2 OAPs. It is quite friendly. Can I just play this clip straight away, because it's brilliant. This is Alan, 71, and Jane, 69. Just on a day out, they were boating, and then they got attacked by Putin. Morning, gang.
We were sailing from Lymington to Cherbourg. Left at 4 a.m. this morning, and as we were coming about halfway across the channel, we saw in the distance a vessel. And as we got closer, we saw that it was a warship. We were about 400 or 500 metres off. It was on our starboard side. It was motionless. It was not adrift. It was 11 o'clock this morning, British time. And as we approached, they gave out 5 blasts on their horn, which means, have you seen us? We immediately turned 2 degrees to port so that they could see we'd made a deliberate change of course, which meant we had seen them. And then a minute or so later, they gave another 5 blasts on their horn, immediately followed by 4 to 5 small arms fire that wasn't aimed at us. It was a warning fire that went up in the air, we believe.
The question this morning is, are we under attack? I mean, 2 warships in 3 days. One, of course, with a camera crew at the front, invaded the other day by the Marines. And old Alan and Jane, bless them. It's a shocking story, but it's just, a couple said to, should we go to Cherbourg today on the boat from Lymington? Yeah, lovely. Have you got some pastries? Yeah, I've got the coffee, I've got the flask. Jesus Christ, there's a Russian warship coming towards us. 0344 499 1000. The bigger issue there, of course, is military experts say this is a de-escalation. What will the government do about it? They haven't made any comment whatsoever. We've got no defence. Talking of which, it's been a busy old time in the Channel this week. Another heat wave on the way. It's only going to get hotter. 700 migrants crossed the Channel in small boats on Monday. Which begs me to say the same thing as I said earlier in the week. When the Marines stormed that Russian vessel, but nobody seems to be able to go anywhere near a rubber dinghy full of migrants. I mean, it's extraordinary. 0344 4. How can you seize a Russian warship and not a 12-foot-long blown-up boat? Extraordinary. 0344 499 1000. All about Keir Starmer as well today. Don't know if you saw the photographs and the footage yesterday at the G7. Completely blanked by most people, most definitely by Donald Trump. Wes Streeting, who likes a bit of limelight. Yesterday he was, I think we should all fly the flags. Really, Wes? He says Starmer must resign this week. There will be a contest initiated to end the drift and uncertainty. Burnham, of course, that all-important by-election tomorrow in Makerfield. He says, if elected, he'll give Starmer one final ultimatum to do the decent thing and give a timetable on when he's going. Otherwise, because they want a bloodless coup, don't they? But they're not going to get a bloodless coup. I've got a bit of an exclusive later at 8:30 from Richard Tice. He's going to be on this show. This is an exclusive from the tea rooms in the House of Commons yesterday. I'm going to tell you the Labour MP who has definitely already got 81 men and women to support him as he, interestingly, will stand for leader. Favourite story of the day, apart from how England had crushed Croatia. Ladies and gentlemen, alarm clock Brits, are you ready? I can't believe this, I'm reading this. Benefit payments, PIP, for bedwetting, acne, constipation and tennis elbow have surged by 500,000. So if you wet the bed, you can't have a crap, you hurt your elbow, or in fact, you spend your entire time hoping to have a crap, you can get money for anxiety. 4 million. I mean, sorry, I don't know what to say. A very good morning and welcome to Wednesday, 0344 499 1000. Who, by the way, which adult's going to go, or even on a form and go, you know, I'm 28, but I still wet the bed. Here's a woman who definitely doesn't wet the bed, but the bed is in a new flat. She's very happy. She moved on Monday. She was depressed. She was worried about the weather and the very cheap removal company, but she's now in an upmarket apartment in London town with wooden floors and a dishwasher. Poppy Coburn.
Well, thank you very much for starting with here's a woman who doesn't wet the bed, just in case there was anyone wondering if I was a bedwetter. No, I'm not wetting the bed, by the way, although I would quite appreciate a payout from the government if I pretended to. But I'm very happy in the new place.
It went well.
Lovely. Yeah.
Lovely to have you here, my darling. I'm glad the move went well. It's one of those things. Last week was obviously so tumultuous with a horrible situation in Belfast and everything. Can we please start with the... Is this not just the most amazing story?
It really is. I mean, sometimes I do wonder, the channel's not very big, is it? You know,
well, that's what I was thinking.
You can swim it.
Yeah.
So,
front of your paper, Russian warship fires shots in channel.
Well, exactly. I mean, I think it's slightly comical, even as much as this is a massive warship. It's obviously not something you really want going through our tiny channel. But I do wonder, it's surprising this near crashes, because you've got old people going to France for their little holiday.
Cherbourg, get a bit of booze for the barbecues.
You've got Vladimir Putin's oil ship warships that are trying to get down to the Middle East, and you've also got 700 boats that are trying to cross over the Channel in one day.
The Channel isn't large.
No, it's not.
And it is, of course, one of the busiest shipping lanes in the world. But yeah, it's just the sight of these old people just, let's go to Cherbourg for, oh, bloody hell, there's a big warship. There is an issue here, though. Why are there so many Russian ships so near to our land?
Well, I think it's a provocation, right?
Do you? You do think it is?
I do think so. I mean, look, I understand that is the route that they're going to have to take. Like, they have to go all the way through the Baltics as well to get round to us. The Channel is something they have to do. But you notice that they avoid Swedish waters when they do the initial route through the Baltics, but they don't avoid British waters. And I wonder how much of that comes from the fact that we don't have a naval presence anymore. I mean, Britannia rules the waves is very out of date.
I'm going to tell you something. You'll probably be listening, and I don't want to offend you, but my son came up with me in the car early today, and there's been driven to a golf tournament. And as we crossed over London Bridge, he pointed at the boat that's stationary in the Thames, HMS Belfast, and he went, is that the one that's still trying to get to Cyprus? Which actually, for a 17-year-old, was quite funny. But, I mean, to be fair, that's our Navy, there, outside our window. It is extraordinary. I mean, somebody said, you know, look at this straight away, Mick. We are so weak under irrelevant Starmer that jolly Russian soldiers think they can take a pot shot at us whilst he's at the G7 being shunned by everybody. I think that's a relevant point.
I think it's on purpose. I think the Russians are doing this on purpose. I understand that there's a procedural reason why they're doing it, but it's to humiliate Britain. It's to say, look how weak you are. I mean, the Russians hate us, I think, more than anyone else. If you watch Russian television clips that have been translated, they are obsessed with the idea that the UK is their ultimate enemy. And so they do have a great opportunity to humiliate us, because it is humiliating. And
we are under a government and a Prime Minister that gives no quarter at all in terms of needing to improve defence. He lost his Defence Secretary Healy and Al Khan's last week and refuses, well, says there's no more money for defence.
Yeah, but there is money for bedwetters.
There is money. We'll get on to the bedwetters. So let's just talk about Starmer. Let's get straight to it. Where should we start? If you want to challenge the Prime Minister, you need 81 backers. Here's a question for you, Deputy Content Editor of the Daily Telegraph. Do you think Wes Streeting has 81 backers?
No.
No. This is Wes Streeting on a programme. I don't know what it was on. This is him being asked if he's got 81 backers. This is a masterful demonstration of how not to answer a question. Take it away, Wesley.
You say you already have 81 backers. How do you know you've got 81? Like, have you got it in the notes on your phone? Have you got a list? How do you know you've got 81 backers today?
Yeah, so talking to colleagues, keeping records, keeping a spreadsheet.
And you've got those today?
And keeping those conversations going at all times, because this is a fast-moving situation.
Right.
A fast-moving situation, which means people might change their mind. I'm sorry, he'll probably start. I don't think he's got 81.
I don't think he's got 81. If he had 81, he would have gone for it. I mean, let's not forget that the leadership challenge was essentially put on hold for this Makerfield by-election.
Yep.
But he would have gone for it properly if he had those numbers. This is Wes Streeting we're talking about. Wes Streeting came out of the womb willing to be the Labour Prime Minister, OK? He is not someone who's known for his patience. Did the womb have a door? It's a joke. Room, door, womb, never mind. Yesterday, he said, you weren't here yesterday, I think we should all fly the flag. And I'm sat there going, but hold on a minute, mate, you've been part of a cabinet that get people arrested for even thinking about it. You know what this reminds me of? When Novak said that she sleeps in Union Jack bed sheets. They always say this when they want to leave the country. They must think that we're thick. They start covering themselves in the flag.
He says that by the end of this week, which is also telling because of Makerfield, he says that because of the drift and uncertainty, not on the OAP's boat, by the way, that we're talking about the political situation.
That would have called drift and
uncertainty. He says that he has to. They're basically saying to Starmer, listen, mate, with respect, you need to just give us some idea of when you're going. Now, we don't know what will happen tomorrow in Makerfield. It's an open contest. People will vote. But if Andy Burnham is elected, he plans to give Starmer one final ultimatum this weekend. New MP just walking in number 10. So listen, mate, do it correctly or I'm going to do the decent thing. Or this is going to be a bloody confrontation. And he will definitely have the 81. But I'm going to give this out because I can. I, yesterday, threw a name into the hat about somebody that I thought would end up standing. And it was verified to me last night by somebody who'll be on this show later that that person does have those numbers. And that person is John Healey.
Wow. See, that doesn't surprise me, actually.
Not at all.
Because he is very well liked, John Healey. I mean, not just
across
within
all
Labour.
sides of the House. Yeah. And all those people that go, Burnham is our saviour, but I'm going to go to the left and I'm going to raise taxes. There must be a large amount of Labour MPs, especially in that red wall, who would look at reform and who would look at other parties and go, hold on a second, if we go to the left, it's just going to be even worse than under Starmer. And I think, and I said to Richard Tice, it's on later, I said it before, if you look back politically, OK, there's always a favourite, but Cameron came from nowhere out the clouds. There's always been that sort of scenario happening, and I can see it happening, and I maintain that Healey is definitely a dark horse in this.
I actually completely agree with you. I mean, I think a lot of people, the reason that they haven't fought against Starmer, even though they dislike him very much personally and they think he is not the right man for the job, they are really worried that the party might one day be led by someone like, you know, Andy Burnham or Angela Rayner. They're really worried that the left are going to take charge again. They can still remember what happened to the party under Jeremy Corbyn.
And I think that is a really... And we're all talking about streeting, and we're all talking about Ed Miliband, who apparently in the paper today is ghosting the Prime Minister by not taking his calls. Who the hell is he, Miliband, anyway? But I think somebody like Healey, who reminds me a bit like John Smith, who was going to be Labour leader before he died, sadly, of a heart attack, the Scottish politician, who I thought had some gravitas. I genuinely... But Richard Tice will be on later. And have you heard about the news about Richard Tice?
I have. You know, I just read it in the Times Diary section.
Extraordinary. Richard Tice is on the show later because he dethroned Nigel Farage yesterday. Richard Tice, old floppy hair, as I call him, not Mr. Flip Flop, was voted the sexiest male MP. And let me tell you, I'm not hiding from this, Tice. Rang me at home to tell me last night. Rang me at 6. Oh, and just, I think you need to know. Oh. And I went, so what do you want me to do? When Isabel's on today, just say she's a very lucky woman. What am I supposed to do with this? But he and Bednock voted the most sexy politicians.
Oh, wow, what a couple. I mean, I did actually see that Farage responded to it by saying it's the strains of leadership.
Strains of leadership. I can't win every election, says Farage, deeply hacked off and standing in a pub somewhere going, how did Tice manage to win that? But yeah, old floppy hair's the sexiest MP.
Well, congratulations, Richard Tice.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll have him on later. Before we go... Oh, Nick! Good morning, Nick!
Hello, Nick, Nottingham, ex-Navy. The Russian warship might have been conducting small arms fire. If the vessel was approaching them, they might have just been warning them off. The lady said she turned 2 degrees to port. That's not enough of a turn to show that your intention to move out of the way. This might actually not really mean anything at all.
Brilliant. Well, listen, he was in the Navy and he didn't even know where he lived. I'm slightly worried about the direction he might turn his ship in. I don't know about 2 degrees north, port, starboard. All I know is some poor couple left Lymington just on a booze cruise to Cherbourg and nearly got flattened by a Russian warship.
Could it be worse? They could have hit one of the dinghies.
Yes, well, now you see, you're doing it again now, and that's not right. Jamie, good morning. Jamie!
Jamie from Benfleet here. I'm all for having Russian warships in the English Channel. They seem to know how to deal with the small boats, which is a lot more than we know how to do. Great show.
But I'm not really inspired by these, but they haven't dealt with the small boats because there's the point, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's not for the Russians to deal with it. I do think there's something to be said for the fact that there are Russians this near to the shores. Do you know what question? Oh, right, no, listen, right, you weren't here yesterday. Matt Vickers has been granted the great honour of asking... He was full of himself yesterday. I've got a question I'm going to ask the Prime Minister at question time. It's like a lottery, yeah? And I went, he's not there, it's the G7, it's Lammy. And he went, oh, God. So he asked the listeners what he should ask. Well, for the person who says, Russ in Red Hill, do you know what question Matt asked? I've just got in from work. No, because it's this afternoon. So you're obviously deranged. So it's this afternoon. We'll play it up. Paul's in Exeter. Morning, Jeremy and Poppy. Being fired on by a Russian warship is a good cure for constipation. So at least those 2 old people won't have to claim benefits. Not that we're implying in any way that old people get constipated. Because I never spend any time not on the toilet. Gary and Bolden, as soon as this Prime Minister starts governing for Brits, maybe we get some volunteers to tackle Russia. But not until. Mark's in Selby. Jess, of course the Marines go nowhere near the dinghies crossing the channel. There is no room in the boats for a film crew to record them in action. Joanna, good morning. Does it matter if we're under attack? The Labour cabinet are in their bunker and Starmer's dancing at G7 on his own. Good morning, Sean in Gloucester. Love the way Trump completely blanked Keir Starling. brilliant, and his face cracked me up. Did you see that?
It's like Keir Starlin, did he just say?
Keir Starlin, that's what he calls it. Starmageddon. He didn't look very happy yesterday, Starmer, did he?
He doesn't look very happy at the moment at all.
No.
It's awful.
Maybe he needs to claim. Maybe he's suffering from constipation.
I think he could do with another holiday. On top of the one he's on right now. Obviously.
He's about to go on a very bloody long holiday. The other big news story, which we have to get in because it's fantastic. Proof today that benefit payments, right, an extra 500,000 people now claiming PIP for anxiety, but also huge thousands of pounds of taxpayers' money being spent on people with acne who bedwet, have constipation or tennis elbow. I'm sorry, do you think they get bedwet and they sit up on their elbow and they're like, what am I going to do about this? And I've no, the whole thing's ludicrous.
Can I just ask a question?
Yes. Why are you looking at me like that with bedwetting?
No, it's not going to be about whether or not you wet the bed. I don't think you're old enough for that quite yet. All I was going to say is, why would bedwetting interfere with your ability to get a job?
Because I've no idea.
Unless you're doing the night shift...
Unless you're incontinent and you spend all day wetting yourself.
I mean, if you're doing the night shift, I could see you're a security guard, you're working a late shift. I could see if you fell asleep...
Yeah.
And the bedwetting happened, that would be quite a major issue.
It would be embarrassing if you wet the security chair.
You know, that's not fantastic, but otherwise, surely you can just go to work in the day.
Well, you see, here's this whole argument on a serious note about the anxiety thing. You know, there is no need to have a face-to-face appointment, as Margaret in Birmingham has just pointed out. And that is one of the biggest travesties.
Yeah.
I cannot... They go on and on to me about, COVID and how it changed, and people now do things on Teams and Zoom, and this is really super efficient. What is not super efficient is being able to phone up somebody or fill out a form and go, I've got anxiety because I wet the bed, or I've got acne and I don't want to go out because I look like a walking pizza or whatever. The whole thing, what happened to this country? This is bizarrely mad.
But I'm sorry, that's where the incentives are. I remember watching a clip of a lady, I think she was attacking a Reform politician, actually, about PIP changes, and she said, I've got anxiety and I can't work. And she said this in the question time audience. And I thought, you can't be that anxious, are you? Because you're in a live audience and you're speaking on national TV about how anxious you are.
Whenever we have a discussion about benefits, it absolutely, quite rightly, hacks off the hard-working Brits that listen to the show. And I always have to make the point, and I want to make the point, that the system, which is to support people who can't help themselves, I totally and utterly support, and I love to pay tax for that. But until this government and society in general accepts that there are feckless, lazy people gaming the system, and that money is then not going to the people that need it, and it has blown the benefits bill to a point where we have no Army, Navy or Air Force. Well, we have nothing because we are wiping the backsides of people with bedwetting tendencies.
But I think if you spoke to the average person on the street and you said, what do you think the benefit system should look like? They would say, we need pensions for the elderly. Absolutely. If you worked your whole life, you need your pension. Yep. If you are going through a really serious disease, if you were suffering from something like cancer, there's no way that you should be in work. We should support you at a vulnerable time in your life.
Absolutely.
We should help you. If you're in a wheelchair, we should make every single accommodation we possibly can to try and get you into work. But if you can't work, then we should also support that, of course. What people will not say is something like bedwetting or mental health disorders that are self-diagnosed, because a lot of them are nowadays. Acne.
How does constipation mean you should get benefits?
Exactly.
I would love to be constipated.
Well, you the other way round?
I've got Crohn's. I would love to be constipated.
I'm surprised you're in work. You could just be at home right now.
I know. They're going to give me a card, by the way. Do you know? Honestly, you think I'm joking, don't you? Did you get a card? Please let this person use your toilet wherever. But did you not know that?
No, you've got to be kidding.
They give you a card, which is like this is the card to get in here. It'll basically say, no, this is my card for you. It'll say Jeremy Kyle has Crohn's, just so we all know. That'll now be in the Express tomorrow. It's been diagnosed. Spend my life on the toilet. This is why I'm this thin. And it'll say, please let him use your toilet. So why are you laughing? So if you go to a petrol station, I'm about to have a disaster, right? It's not funny, I might claim. They will open up the toilet for... Why are you laughing?
Sorry, I'm just imagining it like Joseph and Mary going round, have you got anywhere for me to stay? Oh, sorry, the inn's full. Oh, I've got a card, actually. Can I please use your stables?
Can I knock on somebody's... I've no idea, but what I do know is, and this is absolutely true, that if you have... I don't see why this is funny, you lot. I'm actually really offended. I think I might go and get myself a human rights lawyer and take some time off work and be offended. It's funny that I've got Crohn's and celiac disease,
it's funny that you have a card and that I can just imagine you banging on some random person's door and be like, you've got to let me in. I've got to use your toilet. You can't deny me because that's ableist. You've got to let me in and use your toilet.
It's what?
Ableist. ableist.
What does that mean?
Ableist means you're racist against the disabled.
Right. Anyway, Crohn's. Kyle's got Crohn's. That'll go everywhere. 6:25. A very good morning, Dale.
Hi, Jezza. Do you not think the Skinner and Bedale song that's coming home is a jinx for England? It's a jinx. Go on, England.
Sorry, the first three voice notes this morning, have they ever already started drinking ahead of this game tonight? This is extraordinary. Here's me trying to deal with Crohn's disease, people claiming benefits for constipation. You go, come on, England. 9 o'clock tonight, England, Croatia, led, of course, England by Thomas Tuchel. He says he'll ring or even sing the national anthem. 3 lines, everybody's up for it. TalkSport have got... honestly, our sister station TalkSport was absolutely mad this morning. Everything you need to know. I myself won't get to watch the match because I'll obviously be running backwards and forwards to the toilet. We're back in 3.
Remember the case where we had the Prime Minister's house before he moved into Downing Street, another property owned, and his car being attacked, firebombed effectively. Well, 2 men have just been found guilty of plotting to damage property linked to the Prime Minister, Sir Keir Starmer. They were found guilty following a trial at the Old Bailey in London. They are 22-year-old Ukrainian Roman Lavrinovich and 27-year-old Romanian Stanislav Karpuch. They've both been found guilty of plotting to damage property linked to the Prime Minister.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
A very good morning, welcome back. If you could hear what goes on in the break. All I happened to announce was that today benefit payments have reached 500,000 people for acne, bedwetting, constipation and tennis elbow. And then, I've always tried to be honest in the show. It came out I've got Crohn's, which has caused this lot to absolutely laugh because on the way, I'm getting a card, right? I just think it's hysterical here. Which basically means if I get caught short, I can go to an office or somewhere and say, can I use your toilet? Poppy Coburn just looked at me during the break and went, no wonder you look fit and well, because nothing ever stays inside you. There we go. 0344 499 that. You see, this is the breakfast show that does it differently. In the midst of a granny and granda being shot at, I just said. Shot at by the warship from Russia, we're managing to talk about this. You are waking up to the news, my friends, and it's a fantastic headline on the front of the Sun. I mean, it is quite worrying. Vlad fires on Brit OAPs in Channel Tunnel. Old Alan and Jane just left Lymington yesterday morning on the way to Cherbourg for a booze run, and suddenly they were accosted by a massive great warship in the English Channel and fired at indiscriminately by the Russians. And on a serious note, military experts saying this is an escalation. And Pops, I heard an MP say yesterday he believes we'll be at war with Russia within 5 years, and that makes the defence issue so important. Last week, John Healey and Al Carnes resigned because they said Starmer didn't have his priorities right. And I heard that there was an extraordinary resignation speech by Healey yesterday. We'll get it clipped up, but he basically said your enemies don't wait for the Treasury to say it's OK to spend money on defending your nation, which is a real dig at Rachel Reeves and a justifiable one.
And also, it takes time to rearm. You know, it's not something that you can do overnight. I mean, you can just see that from the lesson of World War II. It takes a lot of time to rearm. You do not want to be, as you are sometimes, caught short in an emergency situation.
Oh, this is not going anywhere, is it?
Very sorry, that was a low blow, but I couldn't help myself.
I can't take a low blow because I have another accident.
Don't, seriously, you set me off again. But, you know...
If you make me laugh, that could also result in an accident too much.
Jesus Christ. Jesus Christ. Yeah, this morning started off, woke up well, my new flat, and now is a dangerous situation.
It's a very dangerous situation. But you're absolutely right. And loads of people responding and going, I know it sounds a bit farcical, but it's not farcical. It's an issue, and actually that whole Russian thing. And I do think that when you strip back the whole Starmer thing, we can talk about, you know, we can talk about immigration, we can talk about the cost of living, but the fact that this government, and I will maintain this, pay more attention to benefits than they do to defending this country. I mean, I've said this repeatedly on the show. The benefits bill outstrips what the Exchequer gets for tax from people who work in this country for the first time in British political history. Something needs to be done. Oh, thank you. Oh, for God's sake. Today, benefit payments for acne, bedwetting, constipation and tennis elbow have risen to record figures as 500,000 people now claim for them. This is just in. You can qualify for government benefits and financial assistance with Crohn's disease. Eligibility depends on how severely the disease and its symptoms, pain, fatigue and constant diarrhoea impact your daily mobility and ability to work rather than... Sorry, I've got to go. Honestly, I've never been caught short on the show.
Oh, I'm glad to hear that, because that would have added an element of anxiety for myself, actually.
Well, you'd have to have 4 weeks off, and I can claim benefits for having Crohn's, can I? I've never.
Go home. Let's go home. I'll get my anxiety benefits. You'll get your Crohn's benefits.
Who's going to do the show? Peter Carville will last, no doubt, something like that.
The only person left in Britain who's still working. I mean, they're going to have a busy day.
Absolutely. Carl, good morning.
Morning, Jeremy. Morning, Poppy. Still got the fake champagne on ice in the fridge, hoping to break it open. This time, Starmer, what do you reckon? He could be going. He could be going. Will he throw the toys out the pram, though, and call a general election? That would be the one, wouldn't it? I would definitely break it open. I would be happy, really happy, if he calls a general election. I don't think we'll be that lucky, though. What do you reckon, Jeremy? What do you reckon, Poppy?
I'll tell you exactly what I reckon, and then Pops will say his bit. Makerfield by-election tomorrow, of course. You will understand, and we've said it many times before, when we're doing a show like this, we're in what's called purdah. We can't be saying, do this, do that. It's up to the people of Makerfield. My personal opinion is, I think Andy Burnham will probably win. I think he'll go to Westminster. I think he will challenge Keir Starmer, but I do not think it's a done deal. I do think... And I hope to God there is enough sense in the Labour Party in the Commons to go, if we veer as left as Andy Burnham has proven to veer left, we're not going to be able to govern for 3 years, because the clamour for a general election will lead. I've said my piece earlier about John Healey, somebody like that as a different candidate. I think that could happen. But Starmer, the big question from me to you, Pops, is everybody knows when their time's up, right? Do you think, all I hear from this man is, right, I'm going to fight, and I was given a mandate by the people 5 years ago, and I get that, I do get that, and I don't agree, and I criticise the Tories for swapping PMs in mid-flow, so to think. See, flow now makes me think I'm going to have an accident in a minute. The whole thing's gone wrong, hasn't it? But the thing about Starmer is, in the Tory party, somebody visits, you know, the old chairman of the backbench 22 committee comes in and goes, Prime Minister, you've lost the party, you need to resign. Do you think Starmer will wake up and realise, or do you think he is that stubborn that he will put them through a leadership campaign whilst this country, rudderless, a bit like the OAP's yacht, just continues to fall on its backside? Because that is not a good look at all.
I mean, it's difficult to answer, because you think if Starmer cared about his legacy and his reputation, he would have left a long time ago. Because he must surely realise at this point that staying on does not make things better. It makes things much worse. It makes people a lot angry at him. Yeah. He himself has become the target of so much ire. I mean, even if you look at the Makerfield by-election, the choice is really, do you want to get rid of Starmer now, or do you want to get rid of Starmer a couple of years down the line, which may actually have helped Burnham's chances?
Well, I've always said, is there ever been, and we'll give you the list of candidates in a second, as we always do, but has there ever been a by-election in British political history where the leader of the party and the incumbent Prime Minister wants his own candidate to lose?
Exactly. And I think
it's extraordinary.
His personal ratings are so low. He is the most unpopular Prime Minister in recorded history.
Yeah.
So you would think, with all of that being there, that he would go. But I don't think he will. He has said it so many times. I really believe
I
it.
don't think it's as clear-cut, and I could be wrong about Healey, but I don't... Well, I know he's got 81, so I know that's true. I think Burnham is very presumptuous.
I agree.
I don't...
Totally agree.
I do think people should look at the fact that he stood twice before to be Labour. He was decimated by Jeremy Corbyn, for God's sake. That's how unpopular. They see him as the Messiah. They say he's done great things in Manchester. It's not for me to deride him. He might well be a better communicator, and he might well be somebody that will take the fight to the Tories. But I believe their brand is as toxic as the Tories is right now. And I don't see a difference, which is why there's a part of me in my head that thinks there must be some sense in the Labour Party to go behind a candidate like Healey, who will stand up and say, no, we're going to have to do this, whether you like it or not, or you lose your seat, and we're going to have to spend more on defence. And I am a socialist through and through, but you've also got to be realistic, because I don't think this country could take many more tax cuts and many more inflated welfare benefits bills. I honestly think that this is not what people think it might be.
I do really strongly agree with that, and Healey also complicates how Starmer might react, because I think Starmer does not like Andy Burnham on a personal level, on a political level. He doesn't think he's the right man for the job, but Healey was his ally. Healey was one of the few people on that front bench that wasn't leaking to the press, that wasn't saying, I mean, wasn't even saying openly how much he disdains the Prime Minister, like some other front benchers as West Drayton have done over the last couple of months. He was his friend and his ally. When Healey resigned, that was a fatal blow to Starmer.
It reminded me of Geoffrey Howe resigning for Margaret Thatcher.
I really think that felt like the end. And I feel that if there is some kind of leadership contest that's triggered by Burnham, what you'll actually see is Starmer throwing his weight behind Healey, although maybe that's the kiss of death.
I think Healey will use his brain and he will grab Wes Streeting, but I can also see him being very balanced about a net zero. Listen, I'm not a Labour supporter, but John Healey, to me, is somebody who gets the point. Here, by the way, in terms of public service announcement, because it is the Makerfield by-election tomorrow, all the reaction on Friday here on Talk, of course, and throughout the weekend, but here's your list of candidates. Jake Austin stands for the Liberal Democrats. Count Binface for his own party, Count Binface Party. Andy Burnham, of course, the Labour Party. Dan Clark, the Libertarian Party. John Dyer for the Independents. Ed Gemmell, the Climate Party. Paul Gould, the Independent. Alan Howling, Lord Hope, the official monster raving loony party. Robert Kenyon, Reform UK. Robert Pownall, Protect the Wild. Rebecca Shepherd, Restore Britain. Sarah Wakefield, the Green Party. Peter Ward, Rejoin the EU. And Michael Stanley, the Conservative Party. That's your list of candidates.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. I do love Christian, the world's best radio producer. He's just rather laconic, and he's just said to me, there's a massive difference between us and other stations. He said, can you imagine poor Kate McCann, who fronts Times? No, nobody's talking about her bowel movements. They're talking about you, Jez. It's absolutely outrageous. But I see now, the thing is, Richard, I have a toilet card. He says, I've got prostate cancer, which is debilitating. He says, does this mean I can claim PIP? I said, I've no idea. But now, so it is a thing, a toilet card, it's called.
Is that Richard the listener or is that Richard Tice?
No, Richard, no, it's Richard the listener who's got cancer, so he's got a toilet card.
He's got a toilet card as well, right,
yeah.
OK.
I don't see why you lot would find having a toilet card so amusing.
You know what? I wasn't laughing. I wasn't laughing. Those were tears of gratitude at your bravery for your condition.
She's a real journalist, this woman. That was amazing.
Was that believable?
Yes,
Almost,
weirdly,
yeah.
almost. 0344 499 1000. Let's go back to the warship that opened fire on two hapless pensioners who set off yesterday, Alan and Jane. They set off from from Lymington to Cherbourg on a day trip to buy some booze. Halfway across the channel, this bloody great warship that started firing at them. Charlie and George, good morning.
Morning, Jezza. Morning, Pops. Charlie and George on our way of work again, helping to pay off that 40 billion welfare bill. This story about the Russian naval ship firing a shell across a couple of pensioners, I just think it's a no story. One of them that they put out there just to throw the scent off, you know. Anyway, you all have a good day. Over and out.
Now that's another point which I want to take. Is it a non-story? Military chiefs are saying it's a dangerous escalation. An MP yesterday said it'll be 5 years and we'll be at war with Russia.
It's quite hard to understand what the truth is.
The point is, why are they so close? Are we that near to Russia?
I actually agree. I think that's the point. The fact that the ships are even in the channel.
I agree.
And here's the other thing. Multiple ships have passed through the channel in the last couple of months.
Yeah.
I think there's been nearly 50 that have actually managed to make that journey. How many ships did you say we have?
I don't know, and I don't want to get into trouble, but it doesn't seem an awful lot.
I remember aircraft carriers, we have one that works.
And then two that are knackered.
Yeah.
I think my judgment was based upon when the Middle East crisis happened, and it was HMS Dragon Your Feet, wasn't it? That one. And he got there and the sail line ran out, so had to go back in. And Luxembourg, which is a landlocked country, got a boat there quicker than we did. But you're right, the old adage of, we had the best navy in the land, it is disgraceful and it is wrong. Oh, they are. The UK Royal Navy currently operates 62 commissioned and active ships.
What are they doing then?
Where are they then? Where are the
doing?
62? That's a fact. But 61 of them don't work in water. No, I like this. Very good, Mark. No, but that's true. 62 commissioned and active ships. I mean, I've never seen them.
See, I don't understand that, because surely the one thing that you need to do, actually, I'm going to end up making another point about migration here.
Yes.
The one place you've got to be safe is surely the English Channel. That's got to be the one place that the Navy has actually got a presence in. I mean, where are we sending them? We do have this strange thing where we seem to want to get involved in every single conflict around the world, and yet our own borders to our own country, we just leave completely leaky. That's why it's so concerning.
I think leaky. Just
leaky. Oh my God! Oh no, I've done it again.
Oh dear.
It's in the back of my mind.
Honestly,
you put it in there.
Do you feel sorry for me? JK and Poppy. Now this is an interesting one. Tomorrow is the Makerfield by-election. We've played the list of candidates, and tomorrow we are not allowed to talk about anything politically. Now, I've always been honest with the listeners. When this happened last time, during the local elections, we decided to do a show that was just, you could talk about whatever you want, and it was hysterical. JK and Poppy, with the by-election tomorrow, are we having another fun show talking about dishwashers and the like? That's Sue in Essex. Probably, although aren't the bosses around? But it's not going to go very well.
Oh, you could just talk about your poo pass again.
Yeah, brilliant. Morning, Jake. I don't know, honestly, if you're just tuning in, it's because I've got Crohn's. They humiliate me. I've got a toilet card, ladies and gentlemen. I've got a toilet card, which means that I'm getting a toilet card. It means you know what? I could get anxiety from this and sign on. I think this is bullying.
I'm about to wet myself, so you'll have your poo pass.
I could get a disabled parking space for this as well, in case I have to park very quickly.
What, in case you have to run?
See, the runs. Morning, JK and Poppy. Alex in Belfast. PIP is an in-work benefit, so it's not means tested. This is a good point. It's literally just extra cash for loads of people. Fill out a form and hope for the best. You can also get PIP for Crohn's. Obviously, people who are actually disabled really need it. Totally good point.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm not going to go and try and get benefit because I've got Crohn's disease. Jez, I'm listening to you two in bed. Don't worry, I'm retired and laugh so much I nearly wet myself. Do you think I should claim? John in Northern Ireland, probably Johnny. Jez, Poppy, I do believe that you could be entitled to a blue badge for your car as well. My wife has Crohn's and I have diverticulitis, so we both know how you're feeling, Jez. Good morning, this is Dr. Jeremy, just talking about all your stomach issues. Hi, Poopy. Hi, Poopy, tell Jez he can wear a man nappy. This is, honestly, But you see, I've always been Hi, Jez. So you've got Crohn's, but look on the bright side. At least you're not full of... Brilliant. Thank you very much indeed. Yes, I've had one beer because I work nights, so the morning is my evening, says Russ. That's brilliant. So, yeah, you think you have Crohn's, but seriously get yourself tested for celiac because it can mimic Crohn's. I've got both. I've got celiac disease and Crohn's from the old man, just so you know, Peter. Thank you, Christina. Celiac means I can't have gluten. My life's a miserable... I can't eat anything I want and I spent half of my life on the Kazi.
I mean, you're a very brave man for sharing your struggles with us. And very brave as well for not signing on for this. Because I think you've got multiple claims now. So you've got celiac disease.
Yeah.
You've got Crohn's. What else have you got?
I've got humiliated at work and it causes my anxiety by my female co-host.
Yeah, you've got a harassment case that you can take to court.
I've got OCD, definitely, because I can't bear the fact, and ADHD. Honestly, I don't know why I turn up for work.
Well, you could be a millionaire with all these claimants you could be making.
No. Don't worry about that. I'll just work. JK, what a little old codswallop about acne, bedwetting, etc. Shops sell knickers to accommodate little spills, by the way, for you. Honestly, what just happened? Thank you, Christina. Jez, with all these Russian ships, that's what I love about talk. We've gone from man nappies to a Russian warship. Literally 3 seconds. If you're tuning in to this show, this isn't the way to do it, but somehow it resonates because... Do you know what? Actually, can I just say this? Don't we live in a miserably boring world right now where everything... And isn't it all right to just have a laugh occasionally?
I think so. I think it's important to have a laugh. Otherwise, you'll go completely insane.
Jez, with all these Russian ships in the Channel, could the government not do a deal to ask them to stop the migrant boat, says Richard Hart? Said a bounty or something? Oh, I think that might be true. Michael, morning, Poppy. Absolutely... Sorry... The pooper is nothing to... No, shall I just go off to the toilet? John Healey is the only person who can save Labour and their dysfunctional MPs from the dole. He is respected by the public. He is an honourable man, says Michael. I felt that during his resignation speech. I agree with that. Morning, Sean.
Morning, Jeremy. Sean from Grimsby here. So the Russians are now firing warning shots at yachts in the English Channel. But I know how we can fix it, Jeremy. I know how we can stop the Russians from doing this type of stuff. We can spend more money on benefits, because that's what we seem to do in this country to solve everything. More benefit money. Great show, mate. Oh, by the way, it's coming home.
I thought he was going to say it's coming out. It is coming. Well, listen, lots of people very excited. England, Croatia tonight, 9 p.m. on our sister station TalkSport. Everything you need in Dallas, Texas. It's going to be incredible. Thomas Tuchel, the German manager of England, says he will sing the national anthem. Very, very excited here. Everybody's getting... should we not replace this with the old flag of St George of today, or would we be taken off air? I think we might do that. We asked the management. Let's remove the Jeremy Kyle breakfast. Let's have a gorgeous... Oh, no, sorry. We've had to... You have to send an email, go through a diversity clinic committee, and it might take 10 days, by which time we'll be out the tournament and everybody will be depressed and claiming benefit. Because they're anxious.
It's okay.
That's what's going to happen, by the way, when England don't win the World Cup. Benefits are going to go through the roof. I've got anxiety. England are crap.
It's OK. You can end up with a Palestine flag back there in 2 weeks' time when you remember it again.
Don't start that. Morning, Jeremy and Poppy. I do think that the Defence Secretary threw in the towel too soon. That elderly couple are clearly ready to take on the Russian Navy because our Navy can't, says Keith in Nottingham. Well, I thought John Healey behaved honourably, to be honest. I don't think he threw the towel in.
I mean, I think when Dan Jarvis took over the job, there were quite a few people with military backgrounds who were pretty messed up. What are you laughing at?
Jez, sorry to hear about your crows. If you can't claim Pip, maybe you could claim Plop. I mean, really.
You could claim Plop.
It's just not worth it working with you lot, is it? Morning, Jeremy and Poppy. Ding Dong Coburn. What does ding dong?
I'm just pleased that no one said Poopy Coburn, to be honest with you, because that's a
The Channel story is a non-story. As much as the media would like it, the Ruskies never fired at a yacht. Put it down to nautical etiquette.
Nautical etiquette?
In the way of a bigger ship, fire a warning, Bob's your uncle. There have been... Joe, I can't do this. There have been several incidents of young men sitting in GP surgeries. Am I reading this?
Come on.
Defecating in front of the receptionist so they can go and claim Pip. But I'm going to just said... I didn't get Crohn's, so I could just defecate.
That's got to be the worst job in the world. What, you see a man come in, he just takes one leg.
It is a crack job. Would you be quiet? You're not helping this. Look, this started, if you're tuning in, wondering why we're laughing. Benefit payments for acne, bedwetting, constipation and tennis elbow have risen to record levels. There's 500,000 now claim it. I just happen to announce that I've got Crohn's disease, which has resulted in a huge array of I shouldn't claim Pip, I should claim Plop. It's my absolute favourite. Oh, Steve, good morning.
You go to America and see how many toilets they've got. Every store has got a public toilet. They legally have to have one. What we got here, there's very few places you can use. I totally agree with you, mate. You need your card.
You need to claim asylum.
I'm going to America. I'm claiming asylum in America. Why is the reason you want to move? You have more toilets than we do in the United Kingdom. You have to pay in the United Kingdom, don't you? Have you been to those toilets? Who's got 10p in the pocket?
I mean, they must be running you down.
I haven't got
You've
time
got no
for
money
10p.
left.
Sometimes I have to reverse right in. I've got to get there quick. Do you know what I mean?
You're jumping over the barrier to get through.
Morning, Poppy, and very old git. My wife claims, Pippa, she has a kidney disease that requires having dialysis 4 times a week. The hoops we had to jump through to get it. How someone with bloody tennis elbow gets it is beyond me, says Paula Hitchin, which is a really good point, isn't it?
No, well, that's the good... You know what? I think for people who are honest, they always say about the system it's really, really difficult to navigate because the people who are taking the... I'm not going to finish that sentence. They are the ones who know how to jump through every hoop. They've got these forms that they print out online and they just tick, 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 tick every box. They know what to say to GPs and to examiners to make sure that they get the money. That's why it's so unfair, because you've got so many dishonest people who are playing the system.
With all those kids and old Crohn's disease, you could probably get more on the rock and roll than you get paid at talk. Somebody's saying, because I've got 6 children and Crohn's, I could claim so much.
You might be able to get a council house in Mayfair with that kind of...
I've never claimed a penny, and I never would claim a penny. I don't understand.
Never claim a penny, but you spend a penny.
Well,
you spend a penny, you'll spend £1, I suppose.
To be honest, I don't always know about it, is what I'm going to say, which probably sums up my life. 10 to 7, 0344 499 1000, text to 87222. Poppy Coburn is here. We're looking at the papers. You're waking up to that news. Front page of the Sun, Vladimir Putin. Vlad fires on Brit OAPs in Channel. This is Alan and, was it Alan and Jane, who just set off on their little yacht yesterday morning from Lymington to go on a bit of a booze cruise to Cherbourg and got fired at by a Russian warship. The military experts, many of them, and MPs, saying this is an escalation. What will the government do about it? Probably very little. It's also been a busy time for cross-channel ferries or even migrants. Monday, 700 more illegal migrants into this country. This problem gets no better, Poppy, at all. And a big, big week for Keir Starmer, shunned by Trump yesterday at the G7. Wes Streeting has come out and said, you've got till the end of the week, drift and uncertainty. I will launch a campaign. Andy Burnham, if he gets into Parliament, he said, I will give Starmer one final ultimatum this weekend, or there will be a coup. Honestly, my stalking horse, I've said it for a couple of days now, and Richard Tice later on will tell us how he knows this to be factual. John Healey, the man that resigned as the Defence Secretary, a rather steady, straight down the middle, respected Labour politician with more experience than most of the front bench put together. He apparently has acquired the 81 signatures it would need to launch a challenge. It's going to be very, very interesting for Starmer. Morning to David, who said, I've got to be honest, I love this show, but it's definitely going down the toilet.
Really?
You see, Poppy's not reacting now because you feel so... You're worried, aren't you? Really? Are you upset the way that you've been deriding me this morning?
No, I'm just hoping that I'm going to get through the hour without you having to go to the toilet. I'm on tenterhooks.
What, because you'd have to then do the show on your own? There are people who want you to do the show on their own.
Well, go do the show on my own. I
think I've been deliberately given Crohn's. I think this is not conspiratorial. I've been given it by other forces. So
I'd say, hello, I'm Poppy, this is the Poppy Show. You were just watching the Poopy Show with Jeremy Kyle. What about that? No?
Honestly, Big Mark, by the way, pushes the buttons, have started interfering a bit today, and he keeps making sarcastic comments about me and my condition to me. He says, how do you prove it? Do you go with a... I don't know, mate.
How do you prove it? Well, you've got to do what that poor caller came in and said. You've got to go to the GP, and as you're waiting for your appointment, you've got to... yourself.
Nice. 0344 499 1000. Are you a football fan? Are you excited about tonight? You're not, are you? The old boyfriend is?
No, so my dad's a massive Tottenham fan, so my dad's side of the family, all massive Tottenham fans.
Will they all go to the pub tonight and watch it?
Absolutely they will.
The boyfriend will?
They will be watching it. Boyfriend will.
Will you not go to the pub?
I will go to the pub because the pub is opposite from my new flat, so I'm going to hear it anyway. I may as well actually go have a drink.
This new flat sounds ideal. Wooden floors, a dishwasher, windows that open, pub across the road.
Yeah. So hopefully football will be coming home and we'll win. Otherwise, I imagine my night's going to be quite depressing.
Does he get quite down?
Oh, he gets very down. He's a QPR fan.
Is he a QPR fan?
fan,
That's 3 of them. Blexley, Dino, and your boyfriend.
Yeah. Honestly, he says that. When was the last time QPR won a league? I think it was back when dinosaurs used to walk the earth.
1735,
There
I
you
think.
go.
Probably worse than West Ham. So we have learnt, just to sum it all up, do you think that Russia is going to be an increasingly big problem for our security? Are they just playing?
Look, I think Russia will be a big problem for our security, but it's not even just one country. It's if anyone wants to have a pot shot at Britain, they must see, from the way that we've been handling our defence woes, that they can. We're an open door. That we can't even defend our own borders. How on earth are we going to fight a war?
It's an interesting point, bearing in mind 700 migrants came in on Monday. Starmer, it's going to happen, isn't it?
Well, I don't want to get your hopes up.
I don't care, because I think the alternative could be worse. I just think he's incompetent.
Very good point. I don't see how he makes it to the end of the year. Whether or not he's going to make it to the end of the month, I don't know. But I do think if Burnham wins, that's going to trigger a leadership contest.
And we've learnt this morning that bedwetting, acne, constipation and tennis elbow means you can, in fact, claim PIP or PLOP. Yep. What would happen, Jez, if every Brit in the country claimed PIP because of the depression or anxiety of the people caused by Keir Starmer? What is more plausible than constipation? Sorry to hear about the Crohn's. I just wondered whether you've got... Now, you've seen Kyle's Piles. Now, the thing is...
Kyle's Piles.
At school, that's what they called me, Kyle Pile Hemorrhoid. That was my nickname. Oh, that's funny as well, is it? Honestly, it's all been about my bum the first hour this morning, hasn't it? It's absolutely outrageous. But there we go.
Sorry, you set me off again. Please stop.
I
I'm going to
hope
have to go
your
use the toilet
dishwasher
in a
and your
second
new
if you
flat
keep on.
breaks down. I really do. No, I'm joking.
I hope your toilet breaks down.
Oh, God. Don't worry, I've got my car. I'm just going next door. Jez, read the warship. Powered ship is supposed to give way to sailboat. William in North Yorks. There's a lot of sailors. There's a lot of people who know the ways of the water. I don't know the ways of the water. Do you...
Ways of the water?
What the rules on the ocean?
The ways of the water.
I know the ways of the water. Poppy Coburn is out of here. She's been brilliant. She's been on twice this week. You back Monday?
Yes, I am.
God bless you so much indeed. Thank you very much indeed for listening, by the way. That first hour of the paper review. We're back at 7 o'clock. Who's coming up? Look at this. I mean, I've got who's on? Ben Habib. We've got Richard Tice, Ben Habib, Isabel Oakeshott. We've got loads and loads of people this morning. 0344 499 1000. Your text messages, keep them going throughout the morning. 87222. We're here with Talk Breakfast. I say it each and every day. Your views on the news of the day, massively important. John, good morning.
Good morning, Jeremy and Poppy. Lovely day. John from the Dordogne. You've got to take exception what you've been saying this morning about this Russian warship. Firstly, it's in international waters. And secondly, if we do go to war with Russia in 5 years' time, won't it be NATO going to war? Because we're a part of NATO.
Do you have any idea what it is like to start becoming desensitized to yet another stabbing, an attempted beheading, a gang rape, a sex attack? Do you have any idea? Or is it that you live in your ivory towers with your secure cavalcade of vehicles? So it doesn't matter, doesn't affect you, doesn't affect your family. We pay for your protection. Why aren't you protecting us?
some breaking news here. The Crowborough Army training camp could hold male asylum seekers all the way until 2030. Good. After the Home Office claimed
money today, another taxpayer, or
across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Hey, very good morning. Welcome back or welcome along. Just gone 7 o'clock. We're live across the United Kingdom. This is Talk Breakfast, of course, the home of common sense and the place where your views on the day's news are always welcome. A-team are in 0344 499 1000 to Tommy. You can ring. We'll get you on. You can leave a voice note as ever. 0344 499 1000. Your text messages 87222. What are you waking up to? Well, this extraordinary story all over the papers. Front page of the Sun. Vlad fires on Brit OAPs in Channel. Many people pointing out this is the second incident with a Russian warship in what, 72 hours on Monday. Marines boarded one with a television crew. Yesterday, old Alan and Jane from Lymington set off on a booze cruise to Cherbourg and halfway across the channel got accosted by a bloody great Russian warship which fired warning signs. That people are saying, come on, it's the waterways. Others are saying, oh, it's an escalation. This is a nightmare. I saw an MP yesterday say, it will be 5 years and we will be at war with Russia. One thing this absolutely does, in my mind, crystal clear, is make the argument for increasing the defences of this nation. It must be paramount, as important as the immigration issue. This country needs to get its head out of its backside and concentrate on doing the right thing. Loads going on as well. A busy day on Monday. 700 illegal migrants coming across the channel. Weather's getting better, heat wave on the way. You can just imagine how those figures are going to soar. And Keir Starmer, it is the last chance saloon, we think. Last chance, I don't think he's got a chance. He's at the G7, snubbed by Trump. He's sort of hanging around looking like he wanted a conversation, didn't get one. Back at home, Wes Streeting yesterday saying, you need to say you're going. Dignified will let you. By the end of the week, this drift and uncertainty is no good. We've got Makerfield tomorrow if Andy Burnham is elected. He says, I'll give Starmer one final ultimatum this weekend. If not, there will be a coup. If you want a bloodless coronation, just go. Starmer, though, says, and I quote, I'm fighting on. I will challenge, I will fight, because I was given a mandate by the British people for 5 years. Really, really interesting. Your thoughts on all of that, 0344 499 1000. We've got breaking news in terms of the economy. UK inflation, we've just discovered, remains at 2.8%. Hasn't gone up, hasn't gone down, just sort of flat, a bit like we all feel. Big game tonight, of course. Fascinating game tonight. England, Croatia in Dallas, Texas. I think my daughter Ava's going, who's over there on Camp America, but we'll find out later. But Tuchel says this is a fantastic chance for England. TalkSport, our sister station, has got every single bit of the build-up today. Everything you need on the only radio station that brings you live football, TalkSport. Unbelievable coverage, I've got to say that. Many people excited, a few more like me, a bit cynical. I want them to win, I do, more than anything in the world, but let's just temper it a little bit. But tell us where you're going to be watching tonight, how you're going to be watching. We're definitely, for the first time in my life, I'm not going to get 6 hours sleep tonight, probably about 2. Couldn't give a rat's. 0344 499 1000. Just because we just want to end this conversation now, because it's, you know, I think we've got to the bottom of it. Benefit payments, we found out this morning, for acne, bedwetting, constipation and tennis elbow have reached appallingly high levels. 500,000 people are now claiming PIP for anxiety. I happen to announce that I had a condition called Crohn's. This is the last text I'm going to read out. Matt from Bicester. Good morning, Jez. Sorry to hear about your condition. I just wanted to ask, are you sitting on a chair or a stool? Brilliant. 0344 499 1000. We'll say a very good morning. Fascinating. I'm so glad we've got him. Ben Habib, good morning, my friend. How are you?
Good morning, Jeremy. Very well indeed, thank you. How are you?
Yes, just having the mickey taken out of my condition. First of all, as a patriot, England tonight, you watching?
I'm afraid I'm not watching. I'm out tonight.
Are you a big football fan? Do you believe it's coming home, or do you think the people get hyped up?
Well, I'm not a big football fan, again, I have to be honest. Rugby is my game. I'd much rather watch a game of rugby than a game of footy. But that's me, I guess.
Fingers crossed that the boys can do it. Ben, so much I want to ask you about, but I want to cut straight to something that I read about, which is why I wanted you on. We have to, and you will know this, with the Makerfield by-election on tomorrow, we have to, in terms of broadcasting, steer a very straight path, and we will be reading out the list of candidates tomorrow, all, I think, 18 or 20 of them. There is talk that this could go one of two ways, that Reform could win, that Andy Burnham could win, that the right could splinter itself with an increase of Rupert Lowe's party Restore. There seems to be some feeling that they could do that on the ground, and that could let Burnham in. All of that will pay out and people will vote accordingly. But am I right and wrong in reading that I heard that your party advances? Are you teaming up with Restore? Are you allying yourself to Restore? What did I read earlier in the week, my friend?
No, so a year ago I determined, or more or less exactly a year ago, I determined that a new party was required to the so-called right, on the right-hand side of British politics, because Reform was all over the place, and we can debate Reform if you like. And Advance did really very well. We got 30,000 members in very short order. That was the number of members with which Reform fought the last general election. And we were spreading our wings and beginning to establish ourselves when Rupert Lowe converted Restore Britain from a movement into a political party. And to start with, Rupert Lowe's party basically had a phenomenal presence on social media, but it wasn't obvious that it would manifest itself in the real world, that presence would manifest itself in the real world. Then the local elections came and they won those 10 out of 10 seats with thumping majorities in the Great Yarmouth area. And then at the beginning of the Makerfield election, the by-election, the first poll that came out showed Restore Britain on 7%. Now, people might think 7% in a by-election's not a large percentage. You're not going to win you're not going to win the election with 7%. But it is virtually unprecedented that a political party that's 2 months old polls 7% in a by-election. It is now the determining factor in that by-election. Reform is not going to win. Andy Burnham is going to win that by-election. But Restore is going to get many more votes than people think. And because of Restore's momentum, it made sense, I thought, for Advance effectively to deregister as a political party, to make way for Restore to do whatever it's going to do, which I think will be very healthy, frankly, for politics in this country, because we do need a massive all-out debate on the right-hand side of British politics to determine what this country genuinely needs to save itself. Reform hasn't got the answers. I think Restore, at the very least, will bring massive pressure on Reform and the Conservative Party to do the right thing.
So I have no skin in this game. I'm going on articles that I've read. I spend my life trawling and reading. I've got no skin in the game. Let me throw a few things at you. You talked about disenfranchising Advance. You believe that Restore has got momentum, but you make the point at 6 or 7%. From what I know, that could be the difference between Labour winning and losing.
Yeah.
Does Rupert Lowe and the people that run his parties know that if Andy Burnham is elected, walks down to Westminster or flies, unseats Keir Starmer and moves this government to the left by increasing taxation and giving handouts, whatever he says gets us closer to the EU, that the right wing, whoever is to blame, Reform, Restore, Advance, are going to be targeted by millions of people who will say, if you hadn't just bloody well banged your heads together, we wouldn't be in the mess we were in now? And I think it's a really relevant question to ask.
So I entirely agree with you that it would be ideal for the so-called right-hand side of British politics to get their heads together and determine what's required for the country. Sadly, the individual responsible for not allowing that to happen is Nigel Farage, someone who effectively has undermined, I think, Reform's position by making it Tory Mark II. He's taken in some good former Tory members. Of course, there are good people who came out of the Tory party, but he's got some absolute disasters in Reform now. And
who's a disaster?
Jake Berry, Nadeem Zahawi, Nadeem Dorries. All these people were part of creating the problem for this country. They were part of we're not really pro-Brexit, we're kind of one foot in Remain, 1 foot in Brexit at best. Some of them voted Remain. Nadeem Zahawi wanted an amnesty on all illegal migrants. Nadeem Zahawi was pro-vaccine mandate, pro-lockdowns, pro-net zero. Jake Berry the same. These people haven't got the agenda that's required to save this country.
Can I throw something in? Because I am fascinated to have this with you. And as I say, I don't have any skin in the game. Yeah, I voted Reform in the last election, but like everybody else, I made a decision and I'll make a decision next time. I've said my bit about the right fracturing. We've heard about the egos. People will say Farage has got an ego, Rupert Lowe's got an ego. You did what you did. The thing that I think, if I'm wrong, tell me. I look at the Tory party and I judge it on that interview I did before the last general election when a member of Reform was outlining the things that they wanted to talk about. You know, securing borders, getting more policemen and women on the streets, lowering taxation, blah, blah, blah. And I remember thinking, do you know what? Those are the things, Ben, that I, as a kid growing up, was told that was pure old-fashioned conservatism. Before I could open my mouth, an incumbent Tory MP said that's far right. The south of the right, some would say this about Reform. The papers have started to attack Restore and say it's full of neo-Nazis. Advance has been criticised as well. And I hate that moniker, far right, OK?
Yeah,
because
so do I.
in my mind, the party that will turn this country round cannot be far right. It can't say everybody should leave, or it can't be like that. It has to acknowledge there are problems with immigration, with the cost of living, with law and order, with all those things. But you're not... This is what I want to say to all those sorts of splinter groups. You're not going to get elected. And my fear as a voter... Having watched this debacle for 2 years, who'd have thought that this man could have walked into Downing Street 22 months ago with the biggest majority in post-war British political history, and it's a disaster. But I said it this morning, don't know what you think about this. The alternative could be bloody worse, Ben Habib. The alternative could be worse. So the right, and I really mean this, whether it's 70 Tories who are more Reform and Restore, or it's Restore of... Everybody needs to get their bloody act together because we face the danger of being through this again, and this country is on its knees. That's how I see it.
I completely agree with you. The right-hand side of British politics has got to get its act together. And it can't get its act together by using inflammatory, divisive language that will actually make this country less governable. What we've got to do is identify very calmly the root causes of the problem of this country, which I don't think Reform has done, and then come up, having identified the root causes, come up with the, again, in a non-inflammatory way, the solutions that are required to fix the country.
I mean, my two comments about that, what would you identify? And if we're talking about inflammatory, and I've no skin in the game, some of the social media stuff out of many parties on the right, predominantly at this moment Restore, but many, are incredibly inflammatory. What if I asked you, you're a man I respect, if you were standing up in front of the British people, you were saying, this is my plan, what are the top things that you know need dealing with ASAP?
So the thing that most needs dealing with in this country is the constitutional framework of the United Kingdom, which was turned on its head by Tony Blair in 1997, and then with subsequent acts of parliament ever since through successive governments. And we need to repeal just about every single act of parliament that's taken place since 1997, which has upended this country, removed our borders, made it impossible for us to police ourselves, made it impossible for us to establish national policies which are for the betterment of the British economy and for the British people. That is the root problem. It's an over-legislation over 30 years, which has undermined this country. None of the political parties are actually saying that. Restore does say it, but I do agree with you. Some of the language coming out of Restore needs to be reined in. It is not helpful language.
The argument that I read in the Mail this week, and again, no skin in the game, is that this is a social media orchestrated campaign from people who might or might not have any loyalty to Rupert Lowe, and they go off at tangents, and that doesn't help anybody, any other than when we hear about Reform councillors saying and doing things from the past. What I'm trying to say about the right is, I think we stand on a I'm not trying to over-egg it. I think we stand on a precipice. Look at today's news. I know it's a story, you know, the Russian warships, but, you know, There are 2 Russian warships in the space of 72 hours in our water, and we haven't even got a bleeding navy. 700 more illegal migrants crossed on Monday, and as the weather gets better, that's going to get worse and worse. And we can pontificate and play games, but these issues need dealing with, don't they, Ben?
So it's so interesting. You know, you mentioned you're hearing about more policemen being put on the beat. Now, that's only the tip of the iceberg with our criminal justice system.
Yeah.
In order to sort out our criminal justice system and indeed national security, it's not just a matter of buying more guns, more airplanes, more policemen on the street. It's actually changing the law of this country so that the policemen, the judiciary and others understand what they need to be doing in their jobs. The policemen, even if we got another 20,000 policemen right now, they wouldn't know what to do because
I have to say, we were lucky enough to be on air, and you've had your beef with Nigel Farage, but when he stood up last week and said there's 2-tier policing, the rows of gormless MPs barracking him and just looking at, saying, and I look at these people and think, so you're telling me, are you, that poor Henry Novak, a white kid who died on the streets of London town, and the last thing he heard was not his last rights being given to him, his rights by a copper who didn't believe he was stabbed. And I posed a question and said that if the situation, that horrendous situation with Dikram Vigra, whatever his name was, if he'd been stabbed by Henry Novak, there would have been an absolute national outcry. We had a minute's silence in the Lords and the Commons for George Floyd. We've had nothing for Henry Novak. And I thought at that moment, I thought Farage was absolutely spot on the pulse of the British people, and he got barracked unbelievably, Ben.
Well, that comment was absolutely spot on, and I endorse it completely. And it evidences that this country needs a complete rewiring, as I was started off with, in our constitutional setup. Because how can you have a police force that actually isn't policing, when I say blindly, I mean without regard for someone's ethnicity, colour, religion or whatever. A police force has to be blind in the application of the law. If you do the crime, you do the time. That's the criminal justice system. And our security, our national security, our army, our navy, our air force, they're all hijacked by the same issues. We had the RAF recruiting fighter pilots based on the colour of their skin, not on their ability to fly a jet. That is the fastest way to undermine British national security. We can't stop boats in the Channel because we've got a legislative framework that prohibits us from putting British citizens first and will allow this assault that's taking place by illegal migrants on this country. We need to re-engineer all of that. And everything I've just said is very, very radical, would require very radical changes to what's been going on in the past, but nothing I've said is inflammatory, Jeremy.
No, I agree with you. And interestingly, and when I watched those MPs deriding, did you hear what Nigel Farage said? He came on the show and he said that as he left the Commons, and literally 645 of them looked like he'd gone into their house on Christmas Day and stolen the Christmas presents from under the tree. The oldest MP, and I'm not going to name him because it isn't fair, I'm sure you can guess it, he's tapped him on the shoulder and went, Farage, looks like you've lost the House. And then he paused and he went, but probably won the country because you've spoken the truth. I think bloody MPs and the blob and all sorts of people need to understand that the silent majority, I say every day, Ben, people are invested, and I'll tell you why they're invested now, and they haven't been for years. It is because their energy bills are 3 times and their food is 3 times. It's why they feel that they're at the back of the queue and somebody who comes here illegally gets a better deal than them, and they've been paying tax for 20 years. It's why this show works, because alarm clock Brits are going, why do I live my life correctly, for goodness sake?
The plight of this country is not because of events outside this country's own control. The plight of this country has been created by our governing class over the last 30 years. It's been willfully created. They've been in gross dereliction of duty, and I just want to address one point you made. Starmer got a thumping majority 2 years ago. He got it on fewer votes than Jeremy Corbyn lost the 2019 general election. And that's because the electorate are with people like you and me, and they're fed up with the governing class. 20 million people didn't vote in 2024. Lots of people came out and voted for Boris Johnson. He had quite a big turnout. I think it was 64, 65%, I think, percent. And Starmer's turnout dropped to 58% or 59%. And the reason people aren't coming out is because democracy has let them down. They've repeatedly voted for what you and I want, and they've repeatedly been given something else. So the right needs to get its act together
Completely agree.
And we need to identify these problems. We need to talk about the solutions bravely, unashamedly, and it's radical and push it out there. The problem, just going back to the problem and why something like Restore is a good thing, the problem with the Conservative Party, as you said, is that they're not leading. They're being pushed by the polls. They see Restore doing something, they saw Advance doing something, they'd come over to that position. Reform is the same. 2 years ago, Farage was saying he was not in favour of deporting all illegal migrants. Now that's a reform policy. That's only because of what I've been saying and what Rupert Lowe's been saying, that reform's been pulled over to that position. So we need to have this out on the right-hand side of British politics.
Do you believe that the only way to end the scourge of this socialist government and the way that could happen further is for the right to unite?
Before the next election, the right needs to grow up. And we can have all the debates we need to have now. We need to have the scrap in Makerfield. This is a necessary scrap on the right-hand side of British politics. But before 2028, 2029, when that general election comes, whoever is so-called on the right, they need to sit in a room, the great speakers, the great purveyors of our movement, need to sit in a room and say, right, how are we going to get this over the line? What are our policies going to be? How are we going to make sure we never see a far-left government ever again?
And I would include, you won't like this, but I'd include 50 Tory MPs who are not wet and are not pro-Europe, who are sat there. And I think that's probably the only way. And, of course, here's the thing, we've got to finish, but Farage isn't going to say that, Badenoch's not going to say that, Rupert Lowe's not going to say that. But I tell you something, the closer we get to the Armageddon that could give us another 5 years of this appalling... I mean, somebody said to me the other day, we're going to borrow £14 billion this month just to pay interest on debts we can't afford to service. The mismanagement, you're right about all the acts, but the mismanagement financially, and you and I are old enough to remember what happened in the 70s. There were green goddesses, there were no ambulances, there was rubbish on the streets. In the end, with the socialists, everybody knows they spend money on their union mates that we actually haven't got, and then we go cap in hand to the IMF and we're on our backside for 10 years. And that's the truth, isn't it, Ben? And so the right has to get its act into... Are you all right?
Yeah, sorry, hay fever. But you're absolutely right. But, you know, even the IMF won't be able to bail the United Kingdom out now. Our problem is so massive. There isn't a bailout that's going to be possible to save us. We are on the edge as a result of these bad policies, extreme policies that have been used to govern this country over the last 30 years.
I got to go, but you are a legend, and thank you, and I mean that. Always good to have you on. Please come on again soon. Brilliant. Ben Habib there on Talk Breakfast, 0344 499 1000. We've got Sir Malcolm Rifkind, former Foreign and Defence Secretary. We'll talk about the Russians in our waters next. Boz, good morning.
Morning, Mr. Cole and the breakfast team. Travelling Boz here. So, is that right? 700 or so came in on Monday. Absolutely disgusting. When are they going to turn round and say, no, we're not taking no more in? Wasn't it something said the other day, 100,000 probably roaming around that they don't know where they are? Absolutely shambolic.
Comes to 2028, when we've established what the solutions are, then Rupert Lowe and Nigel Farage, if he's still in position, and indeed Kemi Badenoch, if she's at the table, have to be grown up, and they've got to sit round a table and make sure they get a thumping majority one way or another on a collective ticket which delivers this country back to safety. And there will be no greater proponent for that taking place than myself. We will put lots and lots of pressure on people to make sure that that happens.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back to 7:28. Interesting to hear there from Ben Habib. And Carolyn in Norfolk rather sums it up for me. Jez, can't believe I've woken up to more right shenanigans. I never thought I'd say this, but if Kemi Badenoch keeps on her present upward trajectory, she could actually have a chance with Restore, Reform and Advance, all trying to sort themselves out yet again. No one will ever agree with everyone. So why the hell can't the right pull together at some point for the sake of this country? Many people share that feeling. 0344 499 1000. Don't forget we broke the news, excuse me, half an hour ago. Breaking news that UK inflation had stuck at 2.8%. More on that as we go through the show. There she is on screen. The Chancellor of the Exchequer. One wonders how long for. 0344 499 1000. I'm delighted to be joined by my next guest. I'd only have to start coughing at this moment. The man who has the best voice of any politician ever in the history of the world. Former Foreign and Defence Secretary, Sir Malcolm Rifkind. Good morning.
Well, good morning. Flattery will get you everywhere.
But it is. I mean, it's Bond-like, that voice, Malcolm, isn't it? Let's be honest.
Well, Sean Connery came from my part of the world, up in Scotland, so maybe that's the explanation for it.
Great to have you on today. Much I want to talk about. Let's start with this situation. I know it's been, for many people, they're saying, oh, it's not, you know, it's not what it was. Russian warship fires at yacht in the Channel. We were a bit light-hearted earlier about Alan and Jane, who left Lymington in their yacht for a booze cruise to Cherbourg. But my question to you is, whether the waterways were, you know, one boat was going in one direction or these were warning shots or it was maritime brilliance, I don't care. That's two warships from Russia who are at war with a European nation. And I'm not saying we've done very little. We saw Marines jumping on board on Monday. But many experts, military experts, Malcolm, saying this is a dangerous escalation and it has to be that the government wakes up to the reality of what's going on in the world.
Well, in part, what you say is correct. The Russians have a deliberate policy of these sort of incidents taking place, not just in relation to Britain, but in relation to pretty well every Western European country. And they're doing it not just to show off or just to be difficult. They're doing it to test our response. And the less we did respond, the more they would be encouraged to make more serious interventions of that kind. So that is part of the background. Whether this particular incident involving the yacht, it wasn't in British waters, it was in international waters, and it was during some period of fog. So I don't know. I don't think we all know absolutely for certain, but it was an extraordinary coincidence that it happened just a few days after the Royal Marines landing on that tanker. It wasn't a warship. You implied that had been a Russian warship. It wasn't. It was a
I love being
tanker.
told off by the former Defence Secretary. Brilliant. But I will say this.
Doing it as well.
No, I will say this. And I said this on Monday, and I would love your response to this. I don't mean to make it political, but it is political. We had the resignations last week of John Healey. I'll talk to you about him in a second. Al Carnes, the Armed Forces Minister. Very quickly, within 24 hours, Keir Starmer came out and said there is no money, despite the ballooning welfare benefits bill, which is ludicrous against what we're spending on defending our nation. And yet then, 12 hours later, Marines had boarded the ship. And many people, Malcolm, many people went, that's very interesting timing, isn't it? It's incredibly interesting timing that the two most senior defence-based politicians resigned from this government, saying that neither he nor the Chancellor of the Exchequer understood the importance of upgrading and spending more on defence. And whatever the shenanigans that have gone on, that surely, out of all of these instances, is the lesson that has to be taken on board, isn't it? We really have to, and you I know would agree with me, I think successive Conservative governments, I've heard the argument about the Cold War, and this government have made a massive mistake cutting back our defences as much as they have.
Yeah, a preliminary point, first of all, the timing of the Royal Marines landing on that oil tanker, I don't think had anything to do with the resignations of Labour.
No, I didn't say that. I said that it almost, after Starmer said there's no money and they'd gone and criticised him, 24 hours later, our Marines are on aboard a ship. It just seemed to a lot of people that that might have been a convenient few pictures to put out there.
Well, the actual operation with the Royal Marines was planned over several weeks when knowing that they'd been shadowing the oil tanker for quite some time. So these are complicated operations. And I think that was primarily not a political decision. That was actually the armed forces themselves, the Royal Marines in particular, carrying out an important exercise. But on your wider point, I regret to say, I don't regret to say, I enjoy saying, I agree with you, that there is a crisis with regard to the defence budget. And the government just cannot say, we don't have the necessary money, because it's a question of what your priorities are. The sums that the Ministry of Defence are seeking sound a lot of money. There are a good number of billions of pounds. But in the context of overall public expenditure in the UK, they're a tiny fraction of the total. And if the government believed what they have said, that defence and national security are their prime responsibility, then you find a way of funding these necessary sums. And you can do it either by cutting spending elsewhere, or if necessary, by increasing taxation, or by borrowing, or a combination of all three. What you cannot say is it is impossible for us to provide the Ministry of Defence and the armed forces with the resources, the minimum resources that are required to protect our national security.
And I think that word you use there is relevant, they're minimum. I mean, I read the figures. I was sat here some weeks ago when those figures came out, that for the first time in, I think, history, the amount of money that the system pays out to benefit claimants at 332 billion, for the first time ever outstripped what the Exchequer is getting from taxation on people who are working. That is a ludicrous, ludicrous scenario. And by anybody's...
Yes, it is ludicrous, and it should not be continuing. That can't be changed overnight. One recognises that. But it should be changed. And if there is a new Labour Prime Minister quite soon, one of the prime responsibilities of anti-Burnham, if it is Burnham, will be to deal with that. Not just because of the defence budget, but because in itself it is totally absurd to have that level of expenditure on people who are... We're not talking about people who are disabled. These are people who are not in work, who say they can't find
work. You don't have to do a face-to-face meeting, Sir Malcolm. You can just fill out a form online now and you can say, I've got anxiety. It's ludicrous.
You're quite right, and that is quite ludicrous. How that came about, I do not know, and it's indefensible, and the quicker it's changed, the better.
Now, on screen, and I wanted to talk to you about the man, John Healey, because I said something yesterday which has gathered a bit of traction. It's genuinely what I believe. We obviously have the Makerfield by-election tomorrow. Obviously, people will make their own decisions. We have to broadcast in a certain way. It strikes me, in layman's terms, that Mr Burnham is pretty cock-a-hoop and imagines he's going to win and rush down to London and offer Keir Starmer a dignified way out or instigate a leadership contest. I think the man who resigned as Defence Secretary last week, and I'm told he has 81, will very much stand. And I actually believe that somebody like Healey, because you'll know this, somebody always comes from nowhere. I wonder how many Labour MPs, certainly in that red wall area, will worry about going further left about how unpopular that actually is and look at somebody like John Healey, who I know you think is a good man, and actually consider uniting behind him. I'd be interested in your thoughts on that.
Well, I admire John Healey, but I don't actually know him personally, so I can't make a judgment about his wider skills. Remember, when you're choosing someone to be a potential prime minister, it's not just whether they've been competent in a particular department. A lot of ministers have specialist knowledge in specific areas and are first class in that role, but may not necessarily be suitable for the overall responsibility. So I'm not going to make a judgment on that. That'll be for Mr Healey himself if he wants to throw his hat into the ring if there's an election for a new leader of the Labour Party. That's for him to play. I mean, I wouldn't be upset if he did do so, and if he won, it would be an interesting question as to what he was capable of achieving. But what he's done is he's shown one thing. He is a man of principle who is prepared to resign if he deeply disagrees with what he's being asked to do by the government. That is a very strong point in his favour.
Did you ever think that you, in your lifetime, would see a Prime Minister arrive in 10 Downing Street on the back of the biggest, I mean, I think in 100 years, the biggest majority ever, and be decimated within 2 years? As a Brit, I was so hacked off with the Tories at the end, and I wanted him to succeed because I'm patriotic.
Sure.
I cannot believe exactly how appalling it's gone. Can you?
Well, whatever our political preferences are, whether the Labour Party won the last general election, so we're going to have a Labour government at least for the next 2 or 3 years, because they aren't going to have an early general election. They would be deeply damaged, whoever the leader of the party was. So that's not going to happen. So we want them to do well so that the country benefits from that. I am astonished that Starmer's position should have collapsed so dramatically. But when you think about it, it was an accident waiting to happen. Starmer had spent most of his career as a working lawyer, a very good lawyer. He was director of public prosecutions. Some may criticize some aspects of that, but he did the job perfectly satisfactorily. And it's very interesting that when he deals with foreign policy issues, he doesn't always get it right, but he deals with it in a particular serious way. And he's got a good relationship with the German Chancellor, with the French President, and some of the time with the President of the United States. These sort of things he can handle. Where he's utterly hopeless is in the domestic political scene, when he's having not only to decide what is the right policy, but how to actually sell it to the British public as a whole. And there, I think, because he still thinks like a lawyer, he is constantly thinking of procedures and processes and rules and so forth. And he doesn't get into the gut issues that all prime ministers, Labour or Conservative, have to deal with. So whether it was Margaret Thatcher or Tony Blair or whomsoever you care to mention, they made competent prime ministers good part of the time, sometimes very good prime ministers, because they had a gut feeling for how to actually relate to the wider British public, not only to explain what they were doing, but to explain why it was necessary and desirable.
I couldn't agree more, and it's almost that it's that loyally placatory approach where leadership is about conviction, it's about having a plan, it's also about not pleasing all the people all the time. I always joke about Thatcher. You might smile here, Sir Malcolm. I've got a great analogy for Thatcher. Here's my plan. There's 400 colleagues. There's my cabinet of 20, and if you disagree with me, you're fired. And at the end of 11 years, all 400 have been fired, and she was out the door. But she stood by what she believed in, didn't she?
Well, forgive me, this one wasn't fired. I was in her government for the whole 11 years of her prime ministership, and when I was Secretary of State for Scotland, I actually had very big disputes with her on a one-to-one basis. Because she said, you are the cabinet's man in Scotland, and I said, yeah, but I'm also Scotland's man in the cabinet, and if you're trying to do something in Scotland that doesn't suit Scotland, where you did not get a political majority. Her majority was produced by England, 80% of the population, not Scotland, Wales, and Northern Ireland. So, but you were unfair about Mrs. Thatcher. She wasn't as brutal as that. She liked to pretend she was, but if you could force her to listen to the reasons why you took a different view, and it's a big if she realized that on that particular subject you knew more about it than she did, then she would shut up and listen and often change her views.
Final question to you, Sir Malcolm. It's brilliant. I wanted to ask you this when I set out. What would she make of where we're at right now, pal?
Well, she'd be exactly the same reaction as the rest of us. Deeply saddened, deeply upset, deeply worried about where this country was going. And, when we look at the short-term consequences, I think Starmer has to go. I'm no expert in this. I've never met Andy Burnham. But he appears to have been very successful in his relationship with the north of England and is seen as the king of the north and all that sort of stuff. He has ability and he seems to have a personality that is not available from anybody else I see around. But I'm out of this now. I don't know these people personally, so I'm exactly one of the great British public trying to make a judgment.
But the difference between you and about 90, well, probably 100% of the British public, you are the only man to last 11 years with Margaret Thatcher. That's amazing. Sir Malcolm.
No, Ken Clarke did as well.
All right, then. I was being nice then. It is an absolute pleasure to have you on. Thank you so much. It's always fascinating to hear your thoughts. Sir Malcolm Rifkind, former Foreign and Defence Secretary on Talk Breakfast. Craig, good morning.
Morning, Jeremy. Great show as always. Craig from Cornwall. I mean, what is our vacuous, incompetent so-called leader doing about any of this? I'll tell you what, absolutely nothing. Just what we come to expect from him. You know, President Trump, for all his, for all the things that he doesn't do, what he's guilty of, what he's not, at least he acts. And if Margaret Thatcher, I mean, you and I grew up with Margaret Thatcher, Jeremy, and there were some things that she did that were wrong, totally wrong. But do we absolutely think she would have stood for this? What's happening to our country? No, she wouldn't. Absolutely not. And I admire her for that. All right, Jeremy. Cheers.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back, 7:45. We're live across the UK. Big night, of course, huge night. Is it coming home? England kicking off their World Cup 2026 campaign against Croatia in Dallas later. Thomas Tuchel, the German, charged with winning the World Cup, confident, and says he'll be singing the national anthem. Got Harry Redknapp. We're also delighted to say a very good morning, although he's a Tottenham player. A very good morning, former England footballer. We remember him best for winning the FA Cup with Tottenham in 1991. Paul Stewart, good morning.
Good morning, Jeremy. How are you?
I'm all right, mate. I'm in Tottenham. I mean, I'm a West Ham fan. So you can imagine how I feel.
Sorry about that, pal. Sorry about that. Oh. It was touch and go all the way through. I was panicking for Spurs, if I'm honest. I'm delighted that they've managed to stay up and change the manager. But yeah, it was touchy times, wasn't it? Touch and go for both teams.
Probably do West Ham a world of good to go down, mate.
Yeah, I hope so.
So, matey, you played for England. Just give us a little... I mean, obviously not in Dallas in Texas, where it's 140 degrees and they've got to stop for water every 5 minutes. We're in that moment, back of the sun there, power and glory, Kane saying, let's take it to them. Thomas Tuchel, all the preparation, and everybody in the nation excited. We're allowed to hang a flag without the Labour government arresting us, apparently, but... What do you think genuinely as a man who's been there? What are our chances, Paul?
Do you know what I think? You know, when you look at the group stage there, Jeremy, and I think the Croatia game will be our big chance, and purely and simply because they're both European teams. The weather is going to affect both of them. I think we're a bit stronger. I mean, they've got Vardiol from Manchester City at the back and the mercurial Modric, who I think will start, but he is getting to that age now where probably playing the whole game is beyond his reach. But if we allow him time to play, he can do a lot of damage. And I think the way he'll play, he won't do a lot going back, but going forward, if he gets that time on the ball. But I think we're too strong all round for Croatia. My worry, Jeremy, is the next two games, because the two other teams, the heat won't be a factor for them. And, you know, that's where I think, you know, we all think that it's going to be quite an easy group, but I think we're going to find it very tough against Ghana and is it Macedonia, because they won't be affected, I don't think, by the heat.
This is probably quite generalistic. You're talking about the performance tonight, and I get you about Luka Modric. He played for Spurs, of course. I think he's 35, 36 now. We talk about the golden generation. You look at the quality that England have got. Not just Harry Kane. They left Foden and Palmer at home, for Christ's sake.
Yeah.
I mean, Bellingham, Anderson. I mean, it's quality. Anthony Gordon's just gone to Barcelona from Newcastle for 80 million quid. Why, just without being boring or putting a downer on it, because I want England to win more than anybody, is it expectation? Is it fear? How have we been incapable of transferring what I would say is probably one of the best sets of players in the world success? I know we got close under Southgate. Is it a mental thing, Paul?
I'm not so sure it's a mental thing, Jeremy. I mean, there is expectation, and I, like yourself, I'm an England supporter now, and I get probably overexcited when the World Cup comes around. And in the past, we've had teams like this that we thought were going to go there and probably do very well, and then we've been disappointed on numerous occasions. I think you've got to understand, for me, and I've said this for a long, long time, I don't think it's always about picking the best players. What I think it's about picking a group of players that play to a pattern. And if you look at why Germany and the other teams have been so successful, they don't necessarily always pick the best player that's playing in a position.
That's why I was quite inspired with the Tuchel squad. I know the usual pundits jumped up and down and said, what about Trent? What about Trent from Liverpool, Real Madrid now? What about Cole Palmer, whatever his name is? What about, how on earth can you leave Phil Foden at home? But all the teams that have ever been successful internationally, they'll have superstars, but that core, that's why Chelsea was so good. When Chelsea dominated, they had Cech, then they had Terry, then they had Lampard, then they had Drogba. There was a spine to the team. We've never had that. We've had all these, the golden generation, Lampard and Scholes and all these players and Gerrard. But it was all like rushing around. Look, of course, I want us to win, and I hope that he manages to mould a team. I just would like them to go out there and play without any fear, but I guess that's easier said than done, Paul, right?
Yeah, I think so, because, again, we go back to the expectation. But, look, they've got a chance of going a long way. And listen, we've had it in the past about the expectation. I hope, like you do, they go out and they play with the freedom, they play with the pride on the shirt. And I hope, like you've just said, Tuchel's way is, I'm not taking all the best players. What I'm doing is I'm taking a team that fits my pattern and can go and win games.
Right, time for a prediction, because time is money. Paul Stewart, legendary Spurs player. Do we beat Croatia tonight, Kidder?
Yes.
What score?
We do, mate.
Give me a score.
I think we'll beat them about 3-1.
And do we win the World Cup?
I'm not so sure about that, Jerry.
Who are you backing? France, Spain or England?
My heart wants to. Well, you look at Germany's 7-1 result again, and they're at a major tournament, and they always turn up at major tournaments. But I think maybe France would be my tip to win it, with Mbappe up front and the quality players they've got. But, that's my head ruling, but my heart just wants England to go and win it. So
good man. And listen,
something to be happy about.
In this world, don't drink too much beer tonight. Well, not too much. I'm going to. Good man, Paul Stewart, ex-Tottenham. He won the FA Cup with them in 1991. Talking about England, Croatia tonight. Our sister station, TalkSport, the only place for your match tonight. From build up throughout the day. Game at 9 o'clock. Who's going to win? Is it coming home? I hope so. We're back in 3.
We've got some breaking news that has just come in. TalkSport have announced a brand new partnership in a developing story. We hear they've created So Good Lager right in time for football's big summer. Just in, we're hearing that So Good Lager will be pouring pints across all O'Neill's pubs and some of the best sports pubs across the UK. With the big kickoff just around the corner, you can find out where to get your hands on a fresh pint of So Good Lager at talksport.com/lager.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back, 7 minutes to 8 o'clock. Delighted to be joined now by next guest who's written a great article this morning, page 12 of The Sun. Ian Drury, welcome back. How are you?
Good to be back, thank you. Fine, how are you?
I'm good. I didn't know this. How about this? On the 23rd of June, which is next Tuesday, it will be 10 years to the day, 10 years to the day, when the British people voted to leave the European Union. This, by the way, if you get a chance, 10 years on from Brexit, says Ian, the EU is no longer an economic racehorse. It's a donkey idling on the beach at Blackpool. But we've got a government who want to get closer to Europe again, despite the democratic wishes of the people 10 years ago.
Absolutely. 10 years ago, it was one of the greatest democratic exercises in this country's history. You know, a vaulting display of confidence, ambition and intent, as we say. And yet, despite that, the Labour government, Labour leadership rivals want to betray that and drag us back into the EU.
My biggest thing about the Brexit vote was, and there are plenty of people that criticise it, I don't believe it was ever implemented to the degree that it should have been implemented, to see that the changes that I voted for, I'm very open about that, would happen to my country.
It was just timidity, duplicity and incompetence by our politicians. You know, they never truly believed in this. They never truly believed that the democratic vote of the people should be adhered to. And
but that is duplicitous, because a democracy and a referendum should have meant that that happened, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And they are reaping what they sowed all those years ago. If they'd have carried it out in line with the wishes of the people, you probably wouldn't have had a rise of reform. You wouldn't have the rise of the restore. You would probably, if the two parties would carry on as they were, but because they've...
Do you actually think the end of the Uniparty, which I think is nigh, that those two parties, is down to the fact that they failed on Brexit?
I think it's to a large extent, yes. I think it is a huge betrayal of the people, and the way they played stupid parlour games over the past years. When we finally got the withdrawal agreement through, you know, it wasn't implemented properly. We haven't taken advantage of any of our trade benefits or the freedoms.
Do you know why I voted to leave? Because I'm a bit old-fashioned. I thought it's time for this country that's an island to stand on its own 2 feet, go into itself like Germany did after the Second War, I mean this, and make stuff and be successful and sell it across whenever we wanted for the price that we wanted. I thought it would allow Great Britain to be great again. I know that sounds a bit soft, and because there are so many regulations, but now we have more I mean, we left the European Union, and now because of Blair, we've got regulations in this country. You can't do anything without somebody citing that you've used or abused some sort of law.
Yeah, I mean, one thing by coming out of the EU, we've avoided about 12,000, 13,000 extra laws have been added.
That's a good thing.
You know, that's but even though the whole implementation has been flawed, you know, why do they want to go back in? You know, since Brexit, GDP has grown by more than Germany, France and Italy. According to the OECD, you know, we grew 1.1% last year. The Eurozone was 0.3%. Exports are higher than the rest of the, you know, Germany, France and Italy. You know, why do we want to rejoin an anti-democratic, sclerotic, protectionist racket, really?
Well, because we have a Prime Minister who's wedded to it, he and his human rights lawyer friends, and, you know, we started off after Brexit. We're going to leave the European Union, the European Court of Human Rights. We can't do that. Only Russia and Belarus have done that. What a ridiculous, pathetically lying argument that is. Quite. No other European countries adhere to the ECHR. They just say, come and get me. We've got... Starmer won't put his socks on without checking the book, will he? That's why he's so utterly clueless, as Malcolm Rifkind said, domestically, because he doesn't have any antennae. It's by the book.
He's a die-hard Remainer. Yeah. He wanted to rejoin by hook or by crook. And they always say, you know, some opinion polls say more people are starting to want to realise Brexit is a mistake. But if you actually drill down into the figures, ask them about the burdens that the punishment beating we would get going back in, we'd have to join the euro. People don't want that. The majority don't want that. We don't want to take EU laws. We don't want to put... we want to keep our borders controls over immigration, over EU
I still
membership.
think half the problem with that is that the EU are punishing us. Quite how we're giving France 500 million quid a year for absolutely nothing is beyond me.
Well, it's a punishment beating on the way out. It's going to be a punishment beating on the way in for encouraging les autres.
Yeah.
To encourage... not to encourage the others.
It's a really interesting article, this, by the way, because, of course, we can't get too involved, but as you said, most of the candidates who are standing to be replacing Starmer, which looks like it's going to happen, would like closer ties with the EU or direct entry back in.
Yeah.
And like you, and like this article, which, by the way, peeps, give it a read, 10 years on from Brexit, the EU is no longer an economic racehorse. It's a donkey. Brilliant by Ian Stone. It's a donkey idling on Blackpool Beach. And I would really love to know, we've only got a minute, but I'd love to know what a majority of people think, because I don't fall for the everybody wants to go back into Europe at all.
When they're asked about the terms and conditions of us going back in, they suddenly say, no, we want to stay out.
Okay, and it's a bit like when people say, do you care about the environment? Yeah. Oh, so you're for net zero? No, I'm bloody well not for net zero.
Yeah.
I do care about the environment, but no.
A majority don't want the euro. A majority don't want EU laws.
You are a legend, and we really appreciate it. I know it's only 5 minutes, but do
so much,
read that today. Page 12 of The Sun, Ian Drury, all about the EU and Brexit and how actually whoever is the next Prime Minister of this country for Labour, most of all...
The video footage was so deeply shocking, the behaviour of the police disgraceful and stupid, and it shows something deeply rotten in our society.
Enough of anti-white prejudice. A promotion of the idea that white lives matter just as much as black lives.
Nigel Farage said today it should be white lives matter. Are you making the same point?
It should be everyone matters.
And when you hear Henry's faltering voice, losing its tone, losing its volume, as his life ebbs away, you're not going to say, I don't think so, mate. And when somebody tells you they've been stabbed, your first job as a police officer is the preservation of life.
Henry was pulled across the gravel, his hands forced behind his back, and he was placed in handcuffs. Instead of being treated as a dying victim, police formally arrested Henry for assault and read him his rights. That was the last thing he heard.
I do want to address the Henry Novak case and what has happened since I was on air yesterday. Because after his son's murderer was sentenced on Monday, Mark Novak said of his son, "We do not want his death to be used to create further division, hatred or tension. We want his story to help make our streets safer for everyone." Since then, Nigel Farage, the Tories and pretty much everyone else, people like me, we're all being accused of stoking that very division, hatred and tension that Mark Novak talked about.
If the public lose trust in being treated fairly by the police, can he take some action, end this divisive practice of two-tier policing and make sure that all British citizens are treated the same?
Mr. Speaker, I don't believe there's two-tier policing in this country. His response has been to appeal for rage. Rage. That's his response to a father who's lost his son and asked for that not to happen. Exploiting this tragedy to create grievance and division would be wrong in any circumstances, but to do it when the family are expressly saying, please don't, is unforgivable.
Across across the UK. On DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back, my friends, or welcome along. Just gone 8 o'clock on Wednesday, the 17th of June. You with Talk, of course, the home of common sense and the place alarm clock Brits come to have their views heard on the news of the day. 03444 499 1000. Text to 87222. Of course, tonight, 9 o'clock, England kicking off their World Cup 2026 campaign. They're playing Croatia in Dallas, Texas. Many people, you heard Harry Kane on the news there, enthusiastic. We're all up for it. You can fly your flag. Talk Sport, our sister station, has got it all. You don't need to go anywhere else. If you're moving, working, running around in the car, Talk Sport is where you will get everything you need tonight about a huge game. And like the rest of us, yes, really excited. Going to watch it, have beers, fly my flag. Just don't want to feel like I usually do. Just do it, England, for God's sake. 03444 499 1000. What are you waking up to? Well, there's a story on the front of the Sun and every other major newspaper. Imagine old Alan and Jane woke up yesterday in Lymington, and he said, Jane, dear, yes, Al, we haven't got much booze and we've got the family over next weekend for a couple of barbecues. Should we get in the yacht, the little boat, and just go over to Cherbourg on a booze cruise? Yeah, I think it's a nice idea. And there they are, eating their potted meat sandwiches halfway across the channel, and a bloody great Russian warship honks and then fires at them. Now, many people are saying it's a non-story. Others are saying, people in the know, military experts are saying this is a dangerous escalation and we need to be more aware of what Russia is all about. It's an absolute light to doing something about our appalling money that we spend on defence. You add to that somebody told me this earlier, 700 migrants came over to this country illegally on Monday again. So on Monday, we had our Marines storming another Russian boat. That's 2 in 72 hours, but we can't do anything about rubber dingers with illegal migrants. It's an extraordinary mess, isn't it? Starmer, you'll have heard, it's all about what's going to happen to him. Is it this week or not? Dan Hodges on the way. And my favourite story of the morning, peeps, this is genuinely true. It's in the Mail. 4 million people, an increased 500,000, are claiming PIP. Right, and just to give you some idea, benefit payments now are given for acne, bedwetting, constipation and tennis elbow. It's extraordinary, isn't it? Alarm clock Brits are going, are you joking? Why am I working? Morning, Lee.
Hiya, Jezza. Lee from Rugby. Great show, pal. Listen, Ben Habib and Rupert Lowe, I've always loved listening to them. I think they're great orators. However, there's a saying, hell hath no fury than a woman scorned, and I'm sorry, they both just come across as a couple of bitter and twisted old women. They need, if they're the patriots that they say they are, they need to throw their weight behind reform. It's as simple as that.
Tomorrow, of course, the Makerfield by-election. We do this job as correctly as we possibly can. I'll list the candidates before the end of this segment. But let's just say about Makerfield tomorrow, we won't be able to be doing anything political tomorrow. People will make their decision. But many people saying 76,000 people in one constituency, and we're going to decide who the next Prime Minister is if, as the polls predict, Andy Burnham wins. But nobody knows. Restore on the right seem to be garnering support. What's that going to do to reform? All eyes on Makerfield. Here is a list of your candidates, by the way, of that by-election tomorrow. Jake Austin stands for the Liberal Democrats. Count Binface for his own party, Count Binface Party. Andy Burnham, of course, the Labour Party. Dan Clark, the Libertarian Party. John Dyer for the Independents. Ed Gemmell, the Climate Party. Paul Gould, the Independent. Alan Howling, Lord Hope, the official monster raving loony party. Robert Kenyon, Reform UK. Robert Pownall, Protect the Wild. Rebecca Shepherd, Restore Britain. Sarah Wakefield, the Green Party. Peter Ward, Rejoin the EU. And Michael Stanley, the Conservative Party. That's your list of candidates. Makerfield tomorrow and all the reaction on Friday on Breakfast with Mark Dolan, only here on the home of common sense. Now, my next guest, Dan Hodges, has written more about Starmer and what could, should or might even happen. And apparently, as he sits at the G7 conference with his wife, is the truth beginning to sink in? Not that Donald Trump doesn't want to talk to him anymore, but actually at home, they're all up and at it. We saw Wes Streeting yesterday, embracing the British flag. Let's fly the flag. Oh, I thought, oh, well, there, man. He says, Wes Streeting, which is really interesting, Starmer must resign by the end of this week to avoid the drift and uncertainty. And Andy Burnham, who many people believe will win tomorrow, is apparently that sure of winning that this weekend he plans on giving Starmer one final ultimatum, do the decent thing or there'll be a coup. I'm going to say a very good morning to the Mail's brilliant journalist, Dan Hodges. Morning, Dan.
Morning.
Don't say a word, because I'm going to read your opening 2 paragraphs, because they're bloody brilliant. But I do want to warn you, we're going to have our first argument.
OK.
On Friday evening, writes Dan Hodges, Keir Starmer will head for Chequers for another crisis meeting with his ever-dwindling band of senior loyalists. But when he walks into the 16th century manor house, he will be met by an unwelcome sight. A bottle of whiskey and a revolver will be stood or sat on his desk. It is a brilliant, brilliant article. However, Dan, I've no skin in this game. Do I believe that Burnham will win? Probably. But I heard something yesterday, and I said this without even being told this. I believe that it's not going to be the shoo-in that everybody on the left believes it is. And I'm not talking about Makerfield. I'm talking about the Labour Party. Because Andy Burnham has made no secret of the fact he's what you call a traditional socialist. He's talked about his success in Wigan, in Greater Manchester, and he seems to have the wind in his sails, excuse the nautical pun. I stuck my neck on the line and said that yesterday, in these sorts of instances, many times somebody comes from nowhere. And I can categorically tell you, because Richard Tice told me this last night from the tea rooms, and he's going to come on this show in 20 minutes, that John Healey has 81 names, Dan. And I can see a lot of Labour MPs in the red wall thinking if we go further to the left, we've got no hope. And maybe the coronation of Andy Burnham might not just be as simple as everybody believes. Thoughts?
Well, we're not going to disagree, actually, because I don't completely disagree with your thesis. I mean, there's absolutely no doubt that Andy Burnham is the heir apparent.
Yep.
And if, as everybody is predicting, he wins in Makerfield, then he will have one big advantage, which he will be seen by the Labour Party, by those Red Wall MPs you just cited, as the one person in the Labour Party who has the capacity to confront and take on and challenge and beat Nigel Farage.
Yep. Yep.
So that will give him a big advantage. But you're absolutely right. There are no certainties in politics. There are. I mean, I firstly do not necessarily think we are heading for the coronation that everybody thinks. I mean, you mentioned John Healey. John Healey. I wrote this last week. He's very well respected.
He is.
Amongst his colleagues. I mean, he's well respected across the House. His resignation is rightly was seen as a good, honourable, principled resignation. He's obviously held a very senior, one of the senior offices of state. He's seen as a safe pair of hands. He is a serious contender. Also, the other thing that people aren't taking into account is, at the moment, we've got this situation where Keir Starmer, through his sort of stubbornness, his blind refusal to confront political reality, at the moment he is binding, in a sense, other members of his cabinet to him because they don't have the freedom to go out and, as it were, set out their own stores at the moment. That situation is going to change next week. And I think...
Why next week, Dan?
Because what we'll see is, as I've written, Keir Starmer will be given this ultimatum over the weekend to set out a timetable for his departure. If he doesn't do that, then next week we will start to see cabinet resignations. We will start to see members of the cabinet coming forward publicly calling him to set out a timetable, and we will start to see cabinet resignations. At the end of all this, there is going to be a contest, and I think there will be a significantly wider field of people who throw their hats in the ring than we're seeing at the moment. So Andy Burnham, obviously, Wes Streeting, obviously, John Healey, obviously. I would not be surprised if we saw potentially Yvette Cooper, who stood before, obviously, Foreign Secretary. is, despite your mockery.
No, I'm not mocking. I'll tell you what I think. I think if Healy wanted... I was going to just say to you very quickly, I think Al Khan's could be an important person for John
Al Khan's
Healy.
is definitely whether Al Khan's can get the names, but Al Khan's has been telling people basically for months he was planning to run. There will need to be a female candidate.
Yeah.
I mean, that is another component of this that we haven't thought about. You know, for a significant number of Labour MPs, and particularly women MPs and Labour Party members, the idea of simply nodding through just yet another male candidate is something that I think a number of them are going to kick back
Quite
on.
ironic, isn't it, that the Labour Party's never had a female leader and that the Tory Party has had.
Well, it's not ironic. I mean, it's absolutely shameful. I mean, obviously shameful. The Labour Party go around calling, talking a good game about diversity, gender, etc. I mean, how many women leaders are the Tories on now? They're on their, what are we on? Fourth? Yeah. Tories are on the fourth.
Talking about numbers, I wanted to do this. I don't, I've met him. I don't think we'd probably have much in common. But Wes Streeting, of course, kicked this all off a couple of weeks ago. You and I were on the show, and he stomped out of 10 Downing Street, made a big thing, went very quiet. I just want to play this. He was on with on the BBC yesterday, being questioned about the backers that he's got. Just have a watch if you can, Dan, a sec. This is Wes Streeting yesterday.
You say you already have 81 backers. How do you know you've got 81? Like, have you got it in the notes on your phone? Have you got a list? How do you know you've got 81 backers today?
Yeah, so talking to colleagues, keeping records, keeping a spreadsheet.
And you've got those today?
And keeping those conversations going at all times, because this is a fast-moving situation.
Right.
To me, Dan, without wanting to appear cynical, I don't think he's got 81, and I think a fast-moving situation is his get-out line. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I agree. I don't think he's got the 81 names, and I don't know anybody in Westminster who thinks he's got the 81 names. But the one thing I would say for him, I mean, he was very. There were two things he said yesterday. Obviously, that he was very clear in his view. He has got the names, and secondly, that my understanding is there was a separate interview or briefing that was given, in which he said, and if necessary, in a way similar to the briefings we've had from Andy Burnham's allies, if necessary, if Keir Starmer digs in, then next week Wes Streeting will deploy those names and reveal those names and trigger a contest. Yeah. Now, the political reality for Wes Streeting is, obviously you're sceptical, I'm sceptical, everyone's sceptical. Next week will be put up or shut up for Wes Streeting.
I think next week for Wes Streeting is what's the best job you can get with the person who wins.
I mean,
to be honest,
if Wes Streeting's got the 81 names, he's going to need to show everybody in Westminster next week. Yeah. He won't be able to get through next week saying, "Oh yeah, I've got these 81 names, but you don't know them. They go to a different school." He's going to have to he's going to have to put up or shut up next week.
It's really interesting. My wife, who's not political, Vic, said to me the other day about, I can't believe you came up in conversation. We were just having dinner, and she said, "You know that man you have on from the Daily Mail, Dan Hodges?" She said, "You two have been going on about this. When the bloody hell is Starmer going to go?" And I always go home and go, honestly, it's going to happen. It is going to happen now, though, isn't it? It's an absolute... I looked at him yesterday at the G7. Somebody wrote that he took his wife because he knows it's the last time he goes to one of those. He does look to me, but we have no idea whether this man and this belief, I was given a mandate, and you put it succinctly in your bit today. You said that sometimes, his supporters and the officials around him will go, yeah, he gets it, and then 24 hours later, they're throwing their hands in the air going, he wants to fight on.
Yeah, I mean, genuinely, I think he genuinely is conflicted. I mean, as I've written, one day he'll wake up and he'll be realistic and he'll tell people, yeah, I get it. And then another day he'll suddenly go, I fight on, I fight to win. I mean, partly it's because he is now, it's the nature of how these things happen. He is now exclusively surrounding himself with a very, very tiny clique of, ultra loyalists, in my view, psychotically loyal advisors who are urging him to fight on. And the reality is these people are now urging him to fight on, not because actually they're not thinking about the best interest of the country. They're not actually thinking about the best interest of Keir Starmer now. They're thinking about themselves. These are people, remember, who themselves are going to be out of a job in a few weeks when Keir Starmer goes. So they want to cling on for as long as possible. My own view, and I've been wrong about this before, but speaking to people, my own view is, for all Keir Starmer's faults, he is not completely insane. And he understands the political reality. Everything I'm seeing coming out of him and his team is a desperate attempt to try and just stop Andy Burnham, Wes Streeting, the others from triggering a contest, right? Downing Street's entire strategy is to just try and keep kicking the contest along. So what we'll see from Downing Street on Friday morning will be immediately Keir Starmer's remaining allies going out saying, okay, let's assume Andy Burnham wins in Makerfield. Andy Burnham's won in Makerfield. Oh yeah, but now there's going to be a mayoral election in Manchester. That's the next test. Andy Burnham has to show that he can help Labour win a mayoral.
Two questions for you. I know your answer to the first one. I'm setting the second one. First one is, good morning, Jez. Pete from Fleet, that rhymes. One question for the excellent Dan Hodges. If Burnham wins tomorrow, do you think that Starmer will call a general election on Friday to stick two fingers up to the entire Labour Party? You dared to get rid of him.
No, there's no prospect of that.
Here's another question from Jeremy Kyle, just off the top of my head. Politics is a murky little business. What if he calls Andy Burnham in on Friday morning and offers him to be Foreign Secretary?
And we'll tell him to do one. I mean, there's a prospect of that, but Andy Burnham doesn't want to be Foreign Secretary. Andy Burnham wants to be Prime Minister, and Andy Burnham knows if he did that, having spent the whole of the last month saying we need change at the top, Andy Burnham would just look completely ridiculous.
So it's now or never for Andy Burnham, but it isn't. If it does happen, it is not a shoo-in. I said my piece about Healy. I mean, there's somebody else in the mix here. I've heard 700 more illegal migrants came over on Monday. Has anybody heard from Shabana Mahmood? Not about Henry Novak, not very much about the Belfast beheading attempt, nothing about the immigration problems. Is she somebody who might throw her hand into the mix? I read some months ago that she's in bed with Burnham.
My understanding, I mean, I've spoken to allies of Shabana Mahmood. They are absolutely adamant that she is not going to run for the leadership on this occasion. They're very clear. She simply wants to remain as Home Secretary and in her view, try to get to grips with the migration crisis. So she won't be. I mean, she will be influential. I mean, I think Shabana Mahmood is one of the people a lot of people in Westminster are looking at next week as one of the people who could break cover and either publicly call for Keir Starmer to set out a timetable or potentially step down herself. She's been one of the most vocal over the last few weeks in terms of urging him to step down. So she's somebody, her and Ed Miliband are probably the two people, her, Ed Miliband, maybe even Rachel Reeves are the people everybody's got an eye on.
I was going to ask you about that. I mean, what does it come to? Front of the Times, Miliband ghosts PM by refusing to take his call. We know he wants to be Chancellor, which begs this question. Let's say the coronation happens, be it through a leadership campaign or it's just Starmer steps down. Who survives in the cabinet and who goes?
Well, it very much depends on who wins the leadership and
no, if Andy Burnham wins, does he keep Rachel Reeves?
Andy Burnham, does he keep Rachel Reeves? There is incredible though that may sound, you could see a scenario where Andy Burnham says, I'm going to keep Rachel Reeves as my Chancellor as a means of attempting to calm down the financial markets.
Yeah.
Who are obviously going to be spooked, probably not to the extent that some people are claiming, but because a lot of this is now already priced in. But yeah, I mean, there is a possibility she could remain. Ed Miliband is going to be very, very influential because he's very popular with Labour Party members, so his endorsement will be keenly sought.
I think he'll resign. You said about Mahmood. I think he'll do it to Starmer. I think he will be the person that deals the fatal blow, and I think he will weirdly end up as Chancellor, which for many people who see the figures that he wants to spend on net zero does panic people. But it'll be very interesting to see. And as I said at the beginning, whether it's a bloodless coronation or it turns into a drawn-out electoral process for the Labour Party, all the while this country has increasing and mounting problems, and that, whatever the Labour Party think, will alienate the I say the audience, I meant the country even further, won't it, pal?
Yeah, I mean, whoever wins, the myriad problems we face as a country are not just magically going to go away. I mean, on the point that you make, though, I mean, my own personal view is I think it's very, very important for the Labour Party that there is not a coronation. I think the idea of Andy Burnham just being handed the Labour leadership
and the keys to number 10,
by extension, becoming Prime Minister, without any possibility to interrogate him on what his national policies are.
Yeah,
because obviously I mean, rightly in my view, he's deliberately dodged turning the Makerfield by-election into, as it were, a referendum on his national policies, and he's stuck very tightly to local issues. But if he were to become Prime Minister, you can already see what the narrative would be. With it, the first moment he runs into the first bit of trouble, everyone will say that was inevitable. He hasn't been stress tested. His ideas haven't been stress tested. He hasn't even got a mandate from the Labour Party, never mind the country. I think that would be a mistake.
It's fascinating, mate. Listen, we'll keep it open. Obviously, tomorrow is the Makerfield by-election. We can't get involved politically, but we'll definitely get you on next week and just keep reading Dan's stuff in the Mail, because he's been at Starmer for us. We're nearly there, Dan. We're nearly there. It sounds like we've been on a mission. But no, listen, you pointed out all that stuff about Mandelson and all that stuff about McSweeney, and you were spot on. And there's no doubt that he might be, some would disagree, this is a decent man. I think he's out of his depth, and I think he's made horrendous decisions and mistakes, and he deserves to go. But Dan, thank you so much indeed. Dan Hodges from The Mail, on The Mail on Sunday, 8:24. We're live across the UK. This is JK. Listen, on the way, Andrew Griffiths, the Shadow Business Secretary, live, and then Richard Tice. And I have to tell you this, Richard Tice is crowing this morning. He has displaced Nigel Farage. More on how in a bit.
Violence on the streets, there's no excuse for that, and if there are protests following this, I just hope that they remain non-violent. I mean, you can understand the community concerns after an attack like that.
People were saying all around the world, that's what British people now think. Have a listen to Rob from yesterday.
Morning, Jez. Well, yes, rightly, you shouldn't condone what happened. What else have people got to do? The political class are not listening. These people who are coming over here illegally, they're rapists, terrorists. They're coming over here, literally like putting a wall in a sheep field.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back, 8:26. So, of course, Makerfield tomorrow. We played you the list of candidates. Dan has had his say. Keir Starmer on thin ice. He's at G7. We'll keep that updated throughout. Let's go live now. I'll get a Tory point of view. Shadow Business Secretary Andrew Griffiths. A very good morning. Welcome to Wednesday. How are you? Oh, he's not ready. Brilliant. OK. Sorry, that's me. I'm ahead of myself. OK? It's what happens when you've got Crohn's. Morning, Dave.
Jez. Yeah. All these bedwares can go and get tenner for men. Then they will not wet the bed, will they? Dave Swindon.
The reason Dave's left that message, if you just thought, what's that got to do, is that we found out today, and this is look, I'm going to show you, so you don't think I've made this up, because it's unbelievable. It's in the mail, right? Ready? He says, click in the paper. The number of people on disability benefits, look at, oh, hello, yeah, hits 4 million. Nearly 40% claim mental health and anxiety. People are also in their thousands, ladies and gentlemen, getting benefits for the following conditions: acne, bedwetting, constipation and tennis elbow. Imagine getting paid to sit at home because you can't have a... It's unbelievable. 0344 499 1000. Dave's in Gloucester. Jez, listening to Dan Hodges, he seems to regard this dysfunctional, inept, ideologically hideous bunch of well-organised people, or disorganised people, as well-organised and effective. The truth is they're a bunch of school kids forming themselves into different gangs to fight each other until the biggest gang wins. Their total obsession is power and domination, not good for the country or the welfare of our people. Can I just point out, that's exactly what the Tories did for the last few years. That is absolutely true. He says, Starmer says, we don't need the chaos of a leadership election. I've got news for him. He's already caused the chaos, and a leadership election will just cause more. Yeah, but it might do, but, oh, God. There's a guy who's a bus driver. He says if an animal was as sick as Starmer's leadership, we put down. Let's do the kindest thing, get rid of this moron. It was tragic seeing him shunned at G7. Let's keep the faith that he'll be gone. Yes, we can keep the faith, Mr. Bus Driver, but then you have to ask yourself, what is the alternative? And I'm not, by the way, everybody knows this, a fan of Starmer. Good morning. This is Tracy. I think Starmer will call a general election if Burnham wins Makerfield. Starmer has a big ego and wants to exit as a standing Prime Minister, snap election after the Makerfield by-election. Dan says that won't happen. Many people say that couldn't possibly happen because, look, lots of Labour people lost their seats. That's what Richie Sunak did. He stuck two fingers up to the Tory party and mutilated them. Good morning, Andrew Griffiths, Shadow Business Secretary. How are you?
Hi, yeah, good morning.
Oh, you were looking away then, Andrew. I thought you were... Where are you? I thought you'd be outside in the sunshine. Are you all right?
There's not much sunshine going on, but I'm outside Millbank here in the heart of Westminster.
Good man, thank you. I don't know where to start with you, so I might as well start with Keir Starmer. The pictures of him yesterday at G7 are further embarrassment to him and, frankly, to us, the nation. We're told that the knives are being sharpened. I was just talking to Dan Hodges, who put that when Starmer gets to Chequers this weekend, on his desk will be a bottle of whiskey and a revolver. Whether it's Burnham after tomorrow, whether it's Wes Streeting, I think John Healey is a dark horse. His days look like they are finally coming to an end, don't they, Andrew?
Well, look, Dan's not only a better commentator than I am, but he's a commentator and I'm not. But, look, the issue is the Labour Party. I mean, if you remember, the fundamental things that have gone wrong here are, one, that lie about not putting up tax on working people. Right back at the beginning, they said it again and again and again, and then they had the biggest piece-rise tax increase, not to arm our nation and defend us, but actually to give pay rises to the public sector and to those on Benefit Street. And then the latest iteration of this is their failure to defend our nation, not being able to get a defence investment plan, not through Parliament, because Kemi's been very clear we will give them the support for the welfare reform that they need, but through their own Labour Party backbenchers. And you can change the leader all you want, but I'm not sure that's going to change the appetite of Labour members of Parliament to properly reform welfare so that so many unemployed people aren't on our streets.
I think it's a really salient point, and I think that people have got wrapped up into he needs to go, he's ineffectual, he's an over-promoted sort of lawyer who doesn't have a plan, who doesn't have the political antennae to understand and feel what needs to be felt. But you're right. I mean, we've got, if Andy Burnham succeeds him, we're told he will drift still further to the left, which either means printing money or borrowing money or raising taxes, which is what most hard-working Brits, as you have just said, Oh, my God, Andrew, what timing. We've got some breaking news that you're not on the spot. It's not difficult. Keir Starmer has just told Beth Rigby at Sky News that he wants Andy Burnham to have a big role in my government if the Manchester Mayor returns to Parliament after tomorrow. And I said to Dan Hodges, will he call his bluff and offer him a big job?
Well, I wonder if that will be reciprocated. But as I say, look, I'm not a commentator. You know, I'm a patriot, and like your viewers and listeners, I'm worried about our nation.
Yeah.
We saw overnight reports about events in the Channel.
Yeah.
Daily, if you follow these matters, you see incursions into the airspace of Estonia or Poland. War fighting itself has changed profoundly over the last 4 or 5 years now, and it's sad to say that our armed forces aren't being given the equipment that they need, not because we as a nation don't have the ultimate prosperity and the tax revenues and the ability to do so, indebted though we are, but because of the will of Parliament and in particular this government. So, as I say, whoever is the leader, the issue here is about the appetite to govern in all seriousness, to make tough choices and to support warfare and war fighting capability, not more people on welfare.
I hope we're friends, but I always have to come back at you with what I know this current Tory front bench has to deal with on a daily basis. To me, one of the biggest tragedies and disservices that 14 years of Tories and this government have done is that because of some misbelief that the world was fine, they stripped back the defences of this nation to I mean, I was told... people think we throw this out. We now have less people in the armed forces, Air Force, Navy and the Army than have come into this country illegally in 2 years. Whatever your political persuasion and whatever is happening in the world, Andrew Griffiths, you would agree that is a completely unacceptable way for an island, for a country that used to be the pride of the seas and everything else. It's disgraceful and it needs to change. And the money has to be found, and it can be found, as Sir Malcolm Rifkind said earlier, if we do something about the bloody benefits bill.
Jeremy, I agree with all of that. Now, I think there are proud points of the previous government, but let's not trade those. Let's look at where we are today, what the imperative is. I'm a member of Parliament, one of the 650 people that the electorate discharge with leading our country with that degree of seriousness and purpose. The job of the hour is to get that defence investment plan done, reviewed, get the money spent, get the orders placed. The government, even Mr Starmer, could do that today. The reality is that the blockage is the Labour Party and its members of Parliament. It's not even just the leadership.
And I agree. In the shadow business sector, I know your concern has always been, and it's something I absolutely share, to come into government and talk about working people and growth, that bloody word growth. And what they've done is they've decimated small and medium-sized businesses with the NI increases and the workers' rights, and that filters down, and that has had a massive impact. And for a party that purported to be, as I say, about working people and business, they've failed both dramatically in less than 2 years, haven't they, Andrew?
They have. I mean, but we can fix it. We can fix it with reforming welfare, get the millions of people who aren't in work into gainful employment again, give businesses the chance to grow by unleashing some of the red tape, give our manufacturers cheaper energy costs that's going to allow them to compete internationally. They've got the smarts, they've got the innovation, but they're being held back by those higher energy costs. So the answers are out there. We can do this. We can be a great and prosperous nation again. But we've got to have the willingness and the people of serious character who are willing to level, to tell the truth and to take the tough choices. Now, I think Kemi Badenoch's Conservatives are back, are doing that. Most of us were not holding senior positions in previous governments. We're ready for solutions. We've got enough experience to know what needs to be done, but without having been the architects of the things that didn't go well in the past.
Does it frustrate you, final question, that and let's absolutely acknowledge this, your leader is cutting through. She leads popularity of leaders who would be the Prime Minister. She's become better and better, I think, at the dispatch box and about getting the pulse of what people are talking about. It must be frustrating then to be part of a front bench when that's not transferring itself, yes, to her, but not to the party in terms of where it stands in the polls, Andrew.
Well, look, Jeremy, Kemi's doing a great job. She's used the profile that she has as the official leader of the opposition to get people to look once again at what's good about the Conservative Party when we stick to our principles. And no one should take any political party, in my view, on trust. It has to be earned. And I think over time, slowly and steadily, by setting out the challenges, levelling with people what the honest truths are, and setting out practical, common sense answers, then we can do that.
Andrew Griffiths, legendary. Don't worry about the idiot with the sign. We appreciate you doing it. Andrew Griffiths, Shadow Business Secretary on Talk Breakfast. Jez, you must be a bloody mind reader. 10 minutes ago, you said, Dan Hodges, what if Keir Starmer is so duplicitous he thinks it'd be a good idea to save his own bacon by offering Andy Burnham a job? We have breaking news. Keir Starmer, in an interview with Beth Rigby, has just said that he wants Andy Burnham to have a big role in government if the Manchester Mayor returns to Parliament. And he's just added something else that even Christian doesn't know. I must be a mind reader. He's saying to Burnham and everybody else, you should not even begin to contemplate a challenge to me until after the Manchester mayoral election. Talk about hanging on by your bloody fingertips. 0344 499 1000, 22 minutes to 9 o'clock. And coming next on this breakfast show, the sexiest politician in London. Mick, good morning.
All right, Jezza. Mick from North Staffordshire. Mate, good show. Just in relation to what Ben Habib said, he said the IMF couldn't even bail us out. That should tell Ben, Rupert, Nigel, Kemi and all the others just how serious this is then if we go even further to the left. Therefore, country first, party second. Get a grip, those on the right. Stop trying to point score against each other. Anyway, if they don't do something quick, Jez, me and the rest of the people of North Staffordshire are going to stand for election. Speak to you later, mate.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
I think I've turned into Mystic Meg, 20 to 9. Literally 20 minutes ago, I went, Starmer's so slippery, he'll offer Andy Burnham a job. He's just told, in breaking news, Keir Starmer says he wants Andy Burnham to have a big role in government and will offer him a position in cabinet. Please don't stand against me. I'm holding on. Please don't do it. It's horrible. 0344 499 1000, text to 87222. Now, ladies and gentlemen, many people take to being in Parliament like a duck to water. Others find it more difficult. Our next guest is a man who just sort of swept into to the Houses of Parliament and with all before him. And I have to say, right, I have to say, with my hand held high, I've always believed that he was destined for the top. But we've got some other breaking news because Richard Tice, the Deputy Leader of Reform, who's next on the show, has overnight replaced Nigel Farage. Richard, good morning.
Good morning, Jeremy. I think you need to complete the sentence.
Oh, mate, this is brilliant. He's even coiffed his hair for this. Ready, peeps? Richard Tice... I can't bring myself to do it. Sorry, I got to just get it here. I'm going to do it professionally. I'm going to be fair. Richard Tice is officially the UK's sexiest male politician for 2026. He dethrones Nigel Farage, who drops to second after 2 consecutive wins. Kemi Badenoch is officially the UK's sexiest female politician. Tice took it all in front of him yesterday. What I loved was that Nigel Farage went, well, maybe it's the pressure of leadership and it's caused me to look a little bit older, but he can have it. So you're, instead of Mr. Flip-Flop, you're Mr. Flick, aren't you, Tice? Mr. Flick of the old hair.
Well, it's that well-known high-quality publication, illicitencounters.com, and we just have to take these surveys and the polls as they present themselves.
Isn't it an adult? Wasn't it an adult thing? It's got a bit of a sleazy thing, hasn't it? This isn't sort of like, you know, the wholesome sort of Richard Tice.
Now you're digging into the detail.
Yeah.
Kemi Badenoch won the female sexiest politician, so I wonder whether she'll accept the invitation for dinner, which is traditionally what happens between the two women.
Sorry, breaking news, because we've got your future wife on in 20 minutes' time. You're taking Badenoch out to dinner, are you?
No, I said that the invitation has been extended.
Tice, man. Well, listen, how does it... let's do this properly. How do you feel being voted as the sexiest male politician? I mean, you beat the likes of Jeremy Corbyn. I just wondered what you thought about it.
Obviously, I'm deeply honoured. Deeply honoured. That's all I can say, Jeremy.
What is the prize? Some Grecian 2000? What is it? Is there a prize?
Certainly not. No, we've just got to push on. Save this country. That's what we've got to do. We've got PMQs today. Yeah. Could be one of the Prime Minister's last, Jeremy.
Well, he's not here. He's not here.
Well, there you are, you see. He's already given up.
He got Calamity Lammy today. Now,
Calamity
listen,
Lammy.
There's lots I want to talk about, and I want to start in a different way, because at 7 o'clock we had Ben Habib, and I questioned Ben quite not forcibly, but quite directly about something I read last weekend. And there's a reason I want to ask you this, because this comes up from my viewers and listeners repeatedly. Ben set up Advance. Rupert Lowe set up Restore. He came on this morning and I said, is it true that you've said you'll step aside and go to somebody like Lowe? And he said, yes, yes, yes. And then I said to him, but a lot of the criticism over the weekend about Rupert Lowe's Restore Party is that it's social media based, it's Musk supported, and there has been infiltration of all sorts of people, which he acknowledged to be the case. But when I tell you the next thing, I know what you're going to say, but I have to do it for the people. Everybody in a different way is increasingly saying the same thing. If tomorrow the right, without going into detail, shoots itself in the foot by splinter groups getting a percentage and taking away from Reform the chance to defeat Burnham, Burnham will presumably stand to be the leader. Does the right need to learn the lesson for further down the line, that unless they get their heads together, right, we are going to have yet more years of this disastrous left-wing government? I think it's a question that needs to be asked, pal.
Sure, and the simple answer is that if you're concerned about that, there's only one party to vote for, and that's Reform. And if your scenario happens, it shows that vote any other party on the right, and you get Labour time and time again. The whole scene has shifted and moved on. We've won over 330 national polls by a significant margin, and anybody who wants a party of the right to save this country's economy, to save our society and our culture, has to coalesce around Reform. It is as simple as that. And sure, not everybody's going to agree with everything that any of the leadership team say. Frankly, life would be boring if you did agree with everything everyone says. But on an overall basis, we represent the future. The Tories had their chance. They blew it. Their brand is literally toxic.
Does it frustrate you that Reform has the base, it's led in those 300 polls, and yet splinter groups, primarily many critics are saying led on social media, are taking, if we believe, and we don't know, are making a little bit of an impact which could affect the bigger result? Or, as I said to your leader last week, and he actually said you might be right, If that happens, might that be a good moment that focuses certain voters' minds on the only way of getting rid of Labour is to do what you just said? Maybe there's a sting in the tail. Maybe there's a sting in the tail.
Sometimes we all need a wake-up call in life, and who knows how this plays out. But for those who are concerned about it, there is a very simple solution.
Yeah.
Vote tactically, vote reform, every single time. And there's only one party that Labour are fearful of, and that is reform. That's why they come at us every day in the Commons as much or more than the Conservatives. So you can see what's going on, and the whole reason there's a leadership contest in the Labour Party about to erupt is because they know that that Starmer's hopeless and that he can't beat reform.
I'm going to talk to you about the Labour Party in a minute, but of course, as the most and sexiest-looking politician now, the messages are draining, and this is Linda who says the name's Tice, Richard Tice, God's sake. Jim says, good old Richard enticing. God. And Paula says, sorry, Matt Vickers is much better looking than old man Tice. God. Do you want to respond to that?
I'm going to have a word with Vickers later.
Yeah, well, Vickers, I can't imagine he'd win any poll with that goatee little beard. Now, I must be a mind reader because we were talking with Dan Hodges in some detail, great piece of his in the Mail today about how, which I don't know if you've read, but it says that when Starmer arrives at Chequers on Friday, he's going to be met on his desk with a bottle of whiskey and a revolver because the shenanigans are about to begin when he returns from the G7 summit. I do not believe that it is the stitch-up or the coronation that many people are believing. And you, my friend, as I've been trailing all morning, have some information and a belief and a thought on this.
I do. I think that whether or not Burnham wins on Thursday, other people will join this contest. And I think people should expect to hear a leadership challenge either by John Healey or by Al Carnes or some variant of a joint bid. But the Commons tea rooms are abuzz with the rumour that John Healey's camp has got the 81 votes necessary to enter a bid. That is the inside track from the Houses of Parliament.
And isn't it interesting as well if you strip it down and you think that the King of the North, in brackets, self-styled, close brackets, is preening and walking around, you know, apparently talking about policy and cabinet positions. But I wonder whether there will be Labour MPs in the red wall that Reform has done very well in, who will go, if we drift to the left still further with higher taxation and we do all the things, you know, get closer to the EU, the British public aren't going to buy that. That is not the way to take on Reform. And I wonder, and I said it myself and you said it to me yesterday, whether they might fly behind somebody like John Healey, who I think is probably liked more across the political spectrum in the House and respected far more than anybody else that used to be or is on the Labour front bench. And because these things happen in politics, don't they, Richard? It's never a done deal.
No one should be complacent about this. And as I sat in the chamber yesterday, listening to the personal statements, which were utterly eviscerating by both John Healey and Al Carnes, who in your picture is sitting just on the left side of John Healey, over John Healey's right shoulder. And there were a lot of MPs around them. There were more MPs coalescing and sitting around John Healey and Al Carnes than there were when Wes Streeting gave his statement. And I just think that should be noted. I suspect that Healey/Carnes are taking votes away from Wes Streeting, who I don't think will get towards the 81 votes.
Well, I'm going to play you something because I've got a really strong belief on this. This was Wesley yesterday being grilled on the BBC. Have a watch, Richard.
You say you already have 81 backers. How do you know you've got 81? Like, have you got it in the notes on your phone? Have you got a list? How do you know you've got 81 backers today?
Yeah, so talking to colleagues, keeping records, keeping a spreadsheet.
And you've got those today?
And keeping those conversations going at all times, because this is a fast-moving situation.
Right.
Dave, good morning.
Hey, Jez, Dave from Hertfordshire here. This thing about Wes Streeting and his 81 names, I'd love to play poker against Wes Streeting. I think he's bluffing. He hasn't got it. I mean, what kind of politician, tacticianer, would say, I've got 81 names already, but I'm going to wait for Andy Burnham to possibly come in and basically throw me out the window? Wouldn't it be better if he sees Andy Burnham as a massive threat to his political goals? Wouldn't it be better to actually trigger that before he actually got in?
I don't believe he's got 81, do you, Richard?
I don't. I never did, really. And that's why I think Dave's spot on. He would have triggered it. His excuse was he should wait until the end of the by-election. Tactically, I just don't buy it. And even if he did, I think some of them will peel away towards a defence-led campaign by the likes of Healey and/or Al Khan's.
And just to repeat for people tuning in, you believe that John Healey has 81 as it stands?
That is the rumour that is going around the Houses of Parliament that Healey, and I include within that a sort of an Al Khan's related interest.
Yeah.
That collectively they've got 81, and I think it's going to be a very, very interesting week ahead because whatever happens on this by-election, cabinet ministers are going to threaten to resign over the weekend unless the current Prime Minister sets out a timetable for his departure. I mean, I called for him to resign this time last week at PMQs. He didn't like it, but basically the Labour MPs, they know the writing's on the wall, and they're all looking pretty glum.
It's really interesting, isn't it? I was accused of being a mind reader because I said something at about 7:30, and lo and behold, we heard the breaking news with Beth Rigby half an hour ago. Keir Starmer has just announced that he wants to offer Andy Burnham a cabinet role in his government if he wins Makerfield. I mean, talk about hanging on by your fingertips. If Dan Hodges made the point, if Andy Burnham went, oh, yeah, I'll be Foreign Secretary, everybody who's been going on about it for years about standing, he'd be humiliated. He's not going to accept a job in Cabinet, is he?
The whole thing's ridiculous. But first and foremost, our job is to ensure that he doesn't become an MP by making sure that our great candidate wins tomorrow. That's our objective. That's what we're focused on. And that's where I'll be later today.
Two other questions. I'd love your response to this in the Mail. I can't wait to see the sexiest politician in England's response. In the 500,000 people who now claim PIP, you can get a benefit payout for something you've never had any of these because you're just James Bond-esque, but acne, bedwetting, constipation and tennis elbow. That's who we're giving money to, Richard. I mean, what the hell, man? Seriously.
But who started it? The Tories started this.
Yeah.
That's why we've ended up in the pickle that we're in. And the guy who started it at the Tories is now their shadow chancellor. So that's why their brand is toxic. Labour have just continued it. And it's only Reform that has the courage to say, you know, all of those things are not ideal, clearly. Anxiety is not ideal. Guess what? When we go to work and we work hard, we get anxiety. It's actually part of life. It's part of growing up. And a bit of anxiety makes you perform better, whether it's at work, whether it's on the sports field, or whatever.
We used to call it adrenaline.
Even you broadcasting, a bit of anxiety for you makes you perform better.
Well, no, there's no chance of me ever performing better. I think it's genuinely. We used to call it adrenaline, nerves, pre-show, whatever. Honestly, to be able to just, and you don't even have to see these people face to face, Rich, right? So you can just go, oh, I'm feeling anxious, and get 6 months off. The British people won't buy that anymore. It's about time that somebody did something about that. I've only got 2 minutes, 2 questions. The Russian warship firing at the OAPs who are on a booze cruise on their way. Lots of people have said this actually speaks of dangerous escalation. What are your thoughts on this?
Well, it does. And what Russia is essentially doing is testing the resolve of the UK government at a time when they know that we're underfunding our defence. We've got a leadership crisis. And it's just a sort of, it's a response to the quite correct seizure of the shadow tanker over the weekend, and Russia are pushing us. But the best form of deterrence is to have a strong defence, and the best way to guarantee peace is prepare for war. It's tough to say, but it's the harsh reality of life.
Couldn't agree more. Later on tonight, England kick off World Cup 2026. We know you're a massive football fan. Obviously, you won't be drinking beer. You'll have a martini, shaken, not stirred, Mr. Bond. Are you going to be watching the game?
I hope to be, yes, subject to the trains. But yes, I'm looking forward to watch the game and come on, England. And
do I say to the future Mrs. Tice, when I speak to her in 10 minutes, that you're taking Kemi Badenoch out for dinner or not? You don't want me to say that. No. All right. I'll leave it. All right, Trick. Thanks a lot. Richard Tice, Deputy Reform. Here's the list, by the way, of your candidates for Makerfield. Jake Austin stands for the Liberal Democrats. Count Binface for his own party, Count Binface Party. Andy Burnham, of course, the Labour Party. Dan Clark, the Libertarian Party. John Dyer for the Independents. Ed Gemmell, the Climate Party. Paul Gould, the Independent. Alan Howling, Lord Hope, the official monster raving loony party. Robert Kenyon, Reform UK. Robert Pownall, Protect the Wild. Rebecca Shepherd, Restore Britain. Sarah Wakefield, the Green Party. Peter Ward, Rejoin the EU. And Michael Stanley, the Conservative Party. That's your list of candidates. So, Makerfield tomorrow, we won't be able to talk about anything to do with local politics. National, we can still have a go at Starmer, and all the reaction on Friday. Morning, Wayne.
Jezza, I've had an epiphany this morning. It's called Three Birds, One Stone. We're paying France to do what exactly about the migrant crisis? And crazy Ed Miliband is never going to let go of his net zero zealotness. So why don't we do a deal with Russia? We'll buy cheap oil from them, which means Ed will be happy because we'll be offsetting our carbon footprint. The working people will be happy because we'll be getting cheaper fuel bills. But best of all, we'll allow them to have ships in the channel and they are free to fire warning shots at any dinghy that comes towards them or near them. It's a win-win-win. I can't see a downside. What do you reckon?
We've got some breaking news that has just come in. TalkSport have announced a brand new partnership in a developing story. We hear they've created So Good Lager right in time for football's big summer. Just in, we're hearing that So Good Lager will be pouring pints across all O'Neill's pubs and some of the best sports pubs across the UK. With the big kickoff just around the corner, you can find out where to get your hands on a fresh pint of So Good Lager at talksport.com/lager.
Of me following the migrants went from sort of 10 in the morning all around the clock to late at night, to the point where on buses, on trains, through streets, at every key point, French military police and the French police, they were there. They were on the bus taking down notes, taking pictures, but not doing anything to deter the migrants or stop them, just being there.
Across the UK. On DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back, just gone 9 o'clock. Julia Hartley-Brewer here from 10, Ian Collins from 1 and Kev O'Sullivan on Drive from 4. That's your Talk lineup on the home of common sense and the station where your views on the day's news matter. And we have breaking news that I predicted 2 hours ago, ladies and gentlemen, because Keir Starmer has just told Beth Rigby that he wants Andy Burnham to have a big role in government, which means, if you believe Dan Hodges, who says that when he gets to Chequers on Friday, Keir Starmer on his study desk will discover a bottle of whiskey and a revolver because the vultures are circling, the robot has worked out that the best way to keep Burnham at bay is to offer him a job. Starmer says, I'll speak to him at the weekend. Cue Keir, come on, man.
Would you bring Burnham back into your cabinet?
Oh, Andy's a great asset, and yes, I want him to have a big role in government.
Are you going to call him at the weekend and invite him back into your cabinet?
Well, I'm sure I'll talk to Andy after the weekend. Of course I will. I've spoken to him many times in recent weeks, and when I came into politics in 2015, it was Andy Burnham's team that I joined, and we worked very well together. He's a huge asset. He's been a fantastic mayor in Manchester, and if he comes back into Parliament, and I hope he wins in the by-election, he'll be a fantastic asset for our party and for the country.
Sorry, could I just jump in? I know I don't, obviously, I'm not a journalist and I don't get things like some of the best journalists do, but didn't he block him from standing a few months ago in Gorton? And didn't he say, I don't want him in Parliament? Because he had a job to do or he was concerned, but now he wants him back in the cabinet. It's over, Keir. It's over. I feel like all of this is making me very anxious. Morning, Helen.
Hi, I just wanted to mention something about anxiety because lots of people are claiming PIP, apparently, saying that they've got it. Well, there's feeling a bit nervous and a bit worried, and then there's actual anxiety. Now, actual anxiety is a totally different thing, and I know. So actual anxiety is dry heaving, actually being sick. It's shaking all over. It's not being able to think straight. It's going hot and cold. It's not being able to leave the house. It's that sort of thing. It's not just feeling a bit worried and nervous. That's normal. Everybody feels that. You know the difference when you have actual anxiety. You really do. So I think people need to realise what it is.
Completely agree with you, Helen. Fantastic, fantastic. Reg, I bet the King of the North is really upset this morning knowing that he's no longer the most handsome man or would-be MP in the Commons because, ladies and gentlemen, I don't know if you heard the news. He was keen to ring me and tell me last night. Richard Tice has been voted as the sexiest man in Parliament. Let's say a very good morning to his future wife, Isabel Oakeshott. Hello, Isabel.
Did he actually ring you to tell you?
Actually, I think we should set the scene for Isabel this morning. Could I have some music, please? Takes me back. So you, Isabel, are on the show today because the man that you purport to love and that you are going to marry later this year has publicly admitted that he's keen to take Kemi Badenoch out for dinner, which is what happens when the best-looking male politician wins and the best female wins. And I just wanted us, the audience, to know how this was making you feel, Isabel, this morning.
Well, first of all, what's making me feel a bit old is that music. You have to be a certain age to recognise what that is.
And you did, didn't you, Oakeshott? You did.
I did. It takes me back to being 17 at school, and we used to listen to it. Was it called Our Tune? And then
Simon Bates with Our Tune on BBC Radio 1.
Oh, was it Simon Bates? I thought it was Steve Wright in the afternoon.
No, that was Mr. Angry from Purley. No, look at me, I'm showing my age. How do you feel about Richard being voted the best-looking man? I mean, do you feel that you're a very fortunate lady to be with him?
Of course I do. But what I also feel is that I do not want this man's ego to get any more inflated than it already is. And I have had to gently and diplomatically remind him that there is not actually that much competition. You know, it is actually quite a small place, the House of Parliament.
We were getting messages saying the name's Tice, Richard Tice, and Richard enticing, and it's the hair thing. I noticed the hair had been all flicked back this morning.
Oh, he loves it. Yeah. He loves it.
And does it impact? I mean, are you okay? It's important in this new world of caring and sharing. Is this impacting? I mean, are you anxious as a result of this? Do you want to claim PIP?
I'm actually thinking of applying for some PIP, maybe some benefits, because it just gives me such a feeling of insecurity, you know, Jezza. I just feel, I wouldn't go so far as to say the dry heaving, and I know that's a real thing for some people, but I just have this profound anxiety when I see him leave the house in the morning, and I'm thinking maybe taxpayers' money might help me.
I think you should take on PIP, and I can't imagine. Yeah, listen, I just want you to know our hearts are with you. I think he was going, don't mention it. I feel him. But listen, it's quite an accolade, and I liked the Nigel Farage comeback, pushed into second, and he went, maybe it's the stresses of leadership. Isabel, great to have you on. So much to talk about, but I was talking to Dan Hodges in detail. We seem to have been talking about Starmer and how long he's going to last for bloody months. But it's a great piece in the Mail this morning from Dan, which says he's going to arrive at Chequers at the weekend to discover a pistol and a bottle of whiskey on his desk, because it really is the beginning of the end. And I jokingly said to Richard half an hour ago, can you imagine if Starmer's that stupid that he thinks by offering Burnham a cabinet job that everything will go away? And lo and behold, he's just told Beth Rigby that he wants Andy to have a big role in his government, and I'm going to call him over the weekend, which is a bit weird because he banned him from standing in Gorton and Denton, didn't he?
Well, it's also completely naive. I mean, Andy Burnham had a big role. It was called being Mayor of Manchester. It's a job that he really enjoyed, and he thought he was good at it. And he's not gone through all of this just to come back down to London and be in Keir Starmer's cabinet. I don't know what planet Keir Starmer is on, that he thinks that is somehow going to buy Andy Burnham off. We all know what Andy Burnham's agenda is here. He is after the top job. And he's not going to be, oh, well, all right, I'll take a job as, I don't know, Minister for Environment or something. I mean, it's just not going to happen, is it? No. Even if he was offered to be Chancellor, it wouldn't happen. And he'd take that job anyway. When he was Chief Secretary to the Treasury many years ago, he hated the job because it just wasn't, economics just isn't his thing. He's a very intelligent man. But even that, which is the second biggest job, would not buy off Andy Burnham.
And it's not just buying that off. You can't be saying for bloody years and months what you want and then letting down your supporters by accepting. I mean, I'm sitting here thinking, is it Starmer trying to call his bluff? But either way, I mean, what's going to happen is going to happen. But what I wanted to talk to you about as well on from that, and again, Richard and I were talking yesterday, and he was talking about the tea rooms, and I'd said this name before I spoke to Richard. If you look, and you'd know this more than anybody, actually, if you look at all these sort of leadership campaigns, be they Labour or Conservative, whatever, there's always somebody who comes from nowhere and has some say in this. Yeah. And I just believe John Healey is that man. I don't know why I think it. Well, I'll tell you why I do, actually, because I think Red Wall MPs will go, geez, we're right up against it. We're going to go further left, borrow more money, raise more taxes. Maybe Healey, Al Khan's, whatever, that combination would be able to hold on to all sides of the party for a while longer. I don't know what your thoughts on that are.
So my thoughts are that I don't feel that John Healey kind of optically looks like a British Prime Minister. I think he doesn't quite have it for me. He's not charismatic enough. There's nothing special about him. I think he's a decent bloke. But I think he's of the calibre of, frankly, Andy Burnham or Sadiq Khan. I think Al Khan's is a much more interesting prospect. And is there any way that there might be some kind of unusual deal between them, whereby it's actually the younger man that runs and John Healey is sort of lending all his supporters to Al Khan's, that it's a joint thing, but actually with the more junior person being the front person. Mm-hmm. I think Al Khan's is a much more interesting figure. He's obviously spent much of his life in uniform. You know, he has a very interesting backstory, and crucially, he's not on the left of the party, and so he would genuinely offer something quite different.
And I agree with you, because I do think when push comes to shove, if it is... listen, we can't go into tomorrow, but if Burnham did win, he's talked about, you know, we need more money in the north, we need to raise taxes, we need to improve this, we're going to pay the WASPy women, we're not going to do that to pensioners, before he's probably done the maths, which is pure socialism, because they borrow or use or print other people's money. Now, we're at a situation where we're paying 10 or 12 billion a month just in interest on the debts we've got. Maybe those Red Wall MPs will wise up and go, no, we can't do that. I think it'll be fascinating. My only question about Al Khan's is, I mean, he was in the military, the parachute regiment for 24 years, active service. He's ripped, he's tall. How the hell did Richard Tice beat him in that competition for sexiest MP?
Well, obviously, Jeremy, I'm very biased. I've never given Al Khan's face or physique the slightest bit of attention, so I couldn't possibly give you an answer to that.
How many times did you vote for Richard?
Well, there might be a steward's inquiry. I mean...
I love this. I love her. I love her. All of that to come. We were touching upon this morning, and people thought I was making this up. There's a story, a great story in the Mail about PIP. 500,000 now claim PIP for anxiety. A really good voice note for a woman, Helen, who had genuine anxiety, and I really wanted to play that because I think it's an absolute con job that people can, you know, fill out a form, box tick, no face-to-face interview, and get 6 months off work. But we found out this morning there's benefit payments in this country, Isabel, for acne, bedwetting, constipation and tennis elbow, and I'm not making it up.
I mean, this is just so outrageous. Yeah. And why is it that our system enables these so-called self-appointed victims to be given handouts rather than being given treatment for whatever it is that they claim is making it so difficult for them to have a good life? Money isn't the answer. If you've got a bedwetting problem, the answer is learning how to control your bladder or, you know, having the surgical treatment you need. Is it because our NHS isn't helping these people or what? I don't know. But there's a very simple solution here, which is to offer the people that are claiming benefit for these conditions treatment to fix their conditions. And if their conditions are genuine and not fixable, then fine.
People always go on. And I've never got involved in the debate about COVID and lockdown and vaccinations because it drives me, it's done, it's finished. It's about what we learn moving forward. But one of the biggest things that is a disgrace that came out of COVID, in my humble opinion, is this: you don't have to see anybody face to face. It's an absolute bloody mockery. And how anybody in Parliament or in any government or any political party can't see that the game is being played and people are taking advantage. And whenever we have these conversations about benefits and PIP, people will text us naturally, Isabel, and they go, what are you saying, that I shouldn't have any? We go, no, not at all, not at all. But the genuine people, or as you said, treatment for people with genuine conditions, is being spent on shirkers and the feckless. And that is such a big, big debate when you put it against the defence budget and the inability of this government to either find or want to find the money relevant. Do you know what I mean?
I do, and we can't go on like this. It's so obvious that there's a hardcore of people, and it's expanding according to the figures, that are taking the mickey. And this is theft. This is theft from taxpayers, and it is theft from people who really do need the help. I would much rather a completely slimmed down group of people who really, really do need to be propped up by the taxpayer, who need extra help to have a quality of life, get much higher benefits, and that we take the money out of those who could be working and who are frankly just playing the system and give it to the many individuals that really do deserve our support.
And it's almost as if, and the Tories were fundamentally central to this, but it's almost, if you look at the whole political landscape back from Blair, it's like we've just made excuses for people who perpetrate crime, people who are gaming the system, people who are... we seem to get, under this guise of helping everybody, or DEI, or whatever the bloody hell it all means, we seem to miss the target with the genuine people, whether it's welfare, whether it's everything. Do you know what I mean? We've lost it's just common sense out the window.
Let me tell you just how aggressive the disability group lobby is. You know, I understand that they feel under siege and that they have a job to do, which is rightly promoting the interests of genuine claimants. But if you venture into this subject in writing or on broadcast, you are hit with a torrent of aggressive complaints, some from organisations, some from individuals. And what they do is that they tie newspapers and broadcasters up in knots dealing with vexatious complaints. These are politically motivated complaints. And I know this because I recently tried to write an article for a UK newspaper on benefits abuse, and I was basically told we cannot face the torrent of letters that we're going to have to put through the legal department that accompanies every article of this nature. And what does that lead to? That leads to a conspiracy of silence. That is bullying by the disabled lobby. I understand, let me emphasise, they have a job to do, and my God, they're good at it, because what they're doing...
But they're missing the point, and I'm quite prepared to say this, because I can say whatever on this station, but this is what I believe. You said it perfectly. We are all really happy to pay into a system that was set up with the premise of will help people in this country who can't help themselves, whether that's through mental illness, disability, whatever. I love that about Great Britain. But why can't those people, those lobbies, those organisations understand this point, that the very genuine people that they're trying to protect are missing out because people are gaming the system? That's not said to end the system for those that deserve it. It's to say the bloody system's gone in the wrong direction and your people are missing out. That's common sense, isn't it?
Exactly that. It serves nobody not to have a healthy debate on this. It serves nobody for abuse not to be smoked out. And it is a sorry, sorry day when journalists cannot expose stuff that is going on because media organisations are exhausted and depleted in their resources to deal with the barrage of complaints that inevitably comes in, and frankly, the willful distortion of what journalists are trying to report. And I'm not talking about our own company, News UK. All papers are up against this.
Of course they are.
It's a nightmare. It's a nightmare.
It's just so wrong, isn't it? I mean, absolutely wrong. Before we go, just the other story, front page of The Sun today, Vlad fires on Brit OAPs in Channel. I'm sure you've been following this, but old Alan and Jane, they woke up yesterday morning in Lymington, which is near where I live, and she said, we're out of booze for the barbecue at the weekend. Should we go to Cherbourg and get some free lager? He said, let's get the boat ready. So they were crossing the channel in their little yacht for a booze cruise when suddenly some bloody great warship from Russia decided to sort of honk and then throw bullets at them. Some people are going, nah, it's a non-story, it's maritime disagreement. Others are saying, military experts amongst them, this is a dangerous escalation. We've had 2 Russian warships in our waters, many that we don't know about, but one was boarded the other day, this one not. But our government has done, as ever, nothing about it.
It's not a non-story. It is not a non-story when a military asset from a hostile state, we're effectively at war with Russia, one way or another, economic war with Russia, we're supporting actively Ukraine in that conflict, we're at war with Russia. And that military boat, that naval vessel, carried out an act of aggression on an innocent civilian vessel, a British vessel. And what are we going to do about it? The square root of absolutely nothing. And this is what the Russians do. It's what all hostile states do. They just have a little go. Let's just push a little bit here. It happens up in our airspace where the Russians just try having a little prod to see if they can come over without permission. And they just test our reaction. And as they find that there's no resistance, they will start making bigger and bigger acts of aggression and provocation, and we are in no state to push back.
The only good thing that can come out of all of these stories, in my mind, is that, and certainly John Healey and Al Khan's resigned on this matter, by the way, and I have to say, I say every time, the Tories did this for 14 years. It was an easy attack for millions Well, for loads of politicians. We're at a Cold War. Let's cut defence spending. It has come back to bite us on the backside. And again, a bit like immigration, Isabel, I think the British people will wake up to this as well. And something has to be done about the money that needs to be spent on defending an island, for God's sake, right? You're our international editor. What does the world think of the United Kingdom right now? Not an awful lot, I imagine.
Well, since you mention it, I mean, I'm sitting here in London today, but as people know, I live in the United Arab Emirates, and look what happened with them. So they have never in their entire existence come under sustained attack from any other country. And the UAE is quite a new country. And it's always had this whole thing about, you know, being the safe haven in the Middle East. It's never, ever faced anything like what came at it at the end of February, right up until fairly recently. What had they done, though? No one really realised this. They had invested massively in one of the world's best defence systems, even though there was only considered to be a fractional chance that this was ever going to happen. Unbeknownst to all of us, they had invested in what it was going to take to make sure no one got hurt if the worst happened. And that paid off massively, didn't it? Absolutely. Hundreds of drones and missiles coming in, and nobody ultimately, I think one person in Dubai was in the wrong place at the wrong time and tragically died as a result of debris from an intercepted drone or missile. So that is a lesson in preparing for the worst, hope for the best, but prepare for the worst. And the stakes could not be higher. If you're not prepared, how do we know, sitting here in London, that some wild thing isn't going to happen and missiles might not start coming at us?
Completely agree with you. Completely agree with you. Now, I'm glad you're in London because we're going to use you tomorrow, but I want to finish as I started. We've got a voice note. I'm going to make you laugh before we finish. This is I don't know what this is going to say, but the next one will. Phil, good morning.
Morning, Jezza. Phil from Shropshire. Who are the other candidates for this poll of good-looking politicians? And where did Ed Miliband, circa Wallace and Gromit, and Andy Burnham, circa a.k.a. Thunderbirds are go?
There we go. But I'm going to finish with this, Isabel. On the day that your future husband told me that he'd been voted sexiest MP, Neil from Telford, just to say Richard Tice is Parliament's sexy man. I can see that. To me and my family, he's definitely got the look of a younger Kenneth Williams.
Yes. Oh dear. The answer is that they were all eligible, but as I said, there wasn't that much competition really, was there? So let's keep the man's ego in check, shall we?
You're amazing. Listen, we love having you on, Isabel. Thank you. We'll speak to you tomorrow. Talk's international editor in London, Isabel Oakeshott, 9:25. We're live across the United Kingdom. Julia here from 10 o'clock. If you want to be on, 0344 499 1000. Text to 87222. Back in 3.
We've got some breaking news that has just come in. TalkSport have announced a brand new partnership in a developing story. We hear they've created So Good Lager right in time for football's big summer. Just in, we're hearing that So Good Lager will be pouring pints across all O'Neill's pubs and some of the best sports pubs across the UK. With the big kickoff just around the corner, you can find out where to get your hands on a fresh pint of So Good Lager at talksport.com/lager.
across the UK. On DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. I tell you that the story that's really winding you up this morning is the benefit payments. You can now get PIP for bedwetting, constipation, tennis elbow and acne. There's a lot of people up in arms. Jez, the PIP payments are a joke. I've been dealing with severe anxiety, but I still keep working. Heavy depression, still working. Recently, I got tennis elbow, and I still work through it. And here's the bit, I work in the bloody care sector. I was offered sick leave, but I turned it down right away. It feels like this country has no work ethic anymore, and the government's just happy to hand out benefits. What an absolute mess. Sarah, you're a legend in Yorkshire. Nicola, half these people are on PIP because they're waiting for surgery. I know people with hernias. Oh, waiting 9 months to see a consultant. Meanwhile, they can't work. I have atrial fibrillation, apparently. I could get PIP. I gave up working in February. I'm 64. The heart kept causing trouble. Taken 3 years for diagnosis. I have a small pension, 98 quid a week. I may apply, says Nikki. I should have retired at bloody 60. The world's a joke. Georgina, I'm sorry, Isabel, but Rishi doesn't do it for me. Matt Vickers gets my vote. Matty Vickers. Wow. Yvonne Smith, don't worry about Tice being voted the sexiest man. I still have eyes for you, says Yvonne in Leicester. That's to Christian. Starmer at G7 yesterday was like watching Mr. Bean trying to find some friends. Kitty's in Hove. Morning, Jez. I've heard snoring now qualifies you for PIP. If you snore, you can get PIP. Oh, because apparently you can't sleep all night, then you're tired, so you can't go to work. This is getting ridiculous. Trev from Nottingham, if the Prime Minister wants to stop Andy Burnham, he should say he has full confidence in him. Easy fix, because he'll be gone by Friday, that's true. Maggie's in London. So Starmer offering Burnham a top job. Should he win Makerfield? Proves he's using Makerfield as a stepping stone to get there. Yes or no? Joanna, Jez, Starmer offers Burnham a position in government. Jez, Starmer sees you. Starmer is watching Talk for ideas. This came from you. Can you imagine if... No, he's at G7, he wouldn't watch this. You're a mind reader, Starmer. Have I missed your hello to Oliver and Iris? Come on, JK, get your act together. No, Oliver's off sick today. He's off sick today. Sports Day's been cancelled. It's all a disaster. 9:30. Let's say a very good morning to a man desperate to get him on and have a military understanding of what happened yesterday and how it's seen. Lord Richard Tice, former head of the British Army. Welcome to Talk Breakfast, my friend.
Hi, Jeremy. Good morning to you as well.
It's in every paper. So we've had a couple of instances, Richard, this week. First on Monday, where a tanker, a Russian tanker, was boarded by the Marines. There were cynics, and let's give both sides of the coin, because there was a camera crew and people were saying that this was remarkably good timing optics-wise, seeing as how 24 hours earlier our Prime Minister, having lost his Defence Secretary and Armed Forces Minister, said there's no more money for defence. Yesterday, this couple, Alan and Jane, heading off on a booze cruise to Cherbourg, run into a frigate. People are saying it was the maritime law, wrong position, it was just the horn. Other people are saying they were fired at. But what's really interesting with all of this so far this morning, Richard, is that many military experts saying this is a dangerous escalation and this country needs to get its head into gear and realise that if we're not already at war with them economically, war with Russia is a very, very viable proposition.
Yeah, well, Jeremy, you raise a whole lot of issues there. I think as far as the boarding of the Russian Shadow Fleet tanker is concerned, that was an action which we should have taken a long time ago. Yes, we can be a little bit cynical about the timing. I think it helped make the Prime Minister look good, but it was the right thing to do. It was a complex operation and it was very well carried out. And we should be doing more of those because Russia is certainly fueling Ukraine's war. It's looking after its own economy by moving all this illegal oil around the world on 700 Shadow Fleet tankers. So that was the right thing to do. Now, this matter yesterday with the couple going from Leamington to Cherbourg for a jolly trip. Yes, you can sort of write that off as just a sort of rather farcical incident, but I think there's a more serious side to it. The Russian warship was loitering in the channel. It's been there for quite some time. It's part of the sort of escorting of the shadow tankers. And when it saw that yacht approaching, that they thought, well, is this just a yacht or is this a British spy ship trying to listen into some of our communications? So they decided to take action. I think what's interesting also is that if you listen to what the couple said, they didn't see the Russian ship on their radar warning system. So that tells me that the Russian ship was endeavouring not to identify itself. So it's an example. It's not an escalation, but it's another example of the below the threshold, below the radar conflict that's going on between Russia and the West, between Russia and ourselves. And I think we have to take that seriously. And just look beyond Ukraine. At some point, there will probably be a ceasefire, and that is good for the people of Ukraine. There won't be a peace agreement, so the thing will linger on. But if there is a ceasefire, that will give the Russians the opportunity to reconstitute and refresh their troops, and we might see them have another go at another NATO country. Could be one of the Baltic states. It could be Finland or Sweden, or so somewhere probably in that part of the world. And why are they doing that? Not because they want to capture and attack that country, but they want to sow disharmony in NATO. They want to break up the unity of NATO, and that's been one of Putin's objectives really since the end of the Cold War, when his beloved Soviet Union and Warsaw Pact were defeated by the unity of NATO and the strong leadership of Ronald Reagan and Margaret Thatcher.
Couldn't agree more. I always, total respect for you. Forgive me if you think one of these questions is trivial. There's a reason I'm asking for it. We haven't responded. We haven't warned them off. Are we a sitting duck? I mean, what's to say, you'll laugh at me, but what's to say one of those ships just couldn't fire something at the United Kingdom? It's only a few miles offshore, for God's sake.
Well, if they were to do that, that would be a major escalation, and that would be extraordinarily serious, and we would have to react to that very forcibly.
But what I'm trying to say to you is they could. We're a sitting duck. We don't even complain about what they did yesterday or on Monday.
Well, I hope we are complaining. I mean, I think what firing shots anywhere near a British ship is totally unacceptable, and I would hope that the government is at the very least making diplomatic representations to the Russians to say this kind of behaviour is not acceptable. But go back to where we started this conversation. I think it was absolutely right that well-constructed operation by the Royal Marines and the Royal Navy to board that Shadow Fleet tanker was right. And we must continue to do that and show the Russians that actually we're not prepared to be a sitting duck. We're not prepared to allow them to use their covert submarines to be examining our communications cables under the sea and so on and so forth. And that's really important that we do show them that we're not just seeing them, we're taking action, and we are not prepared to be a sitting duck. And just while I'm going, of course, this translates into the whole discussion which led to John Healey and Al Khan's resigning last week. We are not spending enough money on defence. We are not increasing our military capability. And why should we do that? Not because generals, admirals and air marshals want to fight a war, but actually we want to have a significantly serious military capability so that we can deter conflict in the future. If you don't have the capability, then you'll be taken advantage of. And that's not a position that any responsible government in this country should accept.
And I think that's the point, and I was talking about this earlier. I don't want you to have to ever become political, but it's interesting to me that you know, we lost the Defence Secretary and the Armed Forces Minister last week. We should touch our cap to Khan's for bringing up about that dreadful legacy bill that should be the worst thing I've ever heard of in my life. But they left saying you are not prepared and the Treasury is not prepared to divert what's needed to protect this country, which I would have thought was, as you said, the first premise of any government. We have a benefits bill in this country, and we've been talking about it all morning, that outstrips the money the Exchequer gets from working people. It is about time, and if anything comes from this, I would think the British people will be even more switched on, that we made money available in whichever goddamn way for something that is becoming more and more important. And as I've said all morning, it shines a very poor light on the last governance of 20 years because they are all responsible for cutting defence, believing it was going to be all right, and it's turned out to be a massive mistake, hasn't it?
Yes. I think go back to the end of the Cold War, go back to 1989 when the Berlin Wall came down. That was a perfectly reasonable time to make some reductions in defence. That was fine. But the world now looks very different to that which the world looked in 1989, 1990, 1991. 30 years later, the world is very different. Russia is now a resurgent threat. Actually, it's more than a threat, it's a proven aggressor. And there are other threats to our security more widely in the world. So the days of taking peace dividends are long gone. And if you're not going to take peace dividends and you need to build up your military capability, you've got to put more money back into defence. And of course, the discussion that you're having this morning, and I listened to the last part of your discussion with Isabel just now, the benefit system has got completely out of hand. And legislation should be changed. I think behaviours should be changed. I think, to be honest, I think GPs and people that sign claimants off too easily should be encouraged to be harder, if you like.
Completely agree.
Make it more difficult to claim, because if we are able to bring the benefit budget under control and to reduce it, then we're at once beginning to produce the money that we need for defence.
Couldn't agree more. Lord Dannatt, you are an absolute legend. We very much appreciate your time this morning on Talk Breakfast. Former head of the British Army there. Almost 20 to 9, the big kick-off tonight. England beginning World Cup 2026 is in Dallas, Texas. I think my daughter's going, Ava. It's 9 o'clock tonight, England, Croatia. And the main man, Harry Redknapp, next on Talk Breakfast.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
I just won't learn. Never eat a biscuit during an ad break. It doesn't work at all. 20 to 10. We're live across the United Kingdom. Now, listen, this entire country is geared up for tonight. TalkSport, our sister station right next door, full of old footballers, brilliant broadcasters, any place you need, everything you need. But one thing you do need is the quality opinion of a man who, if he'd stayed at my blessed club, we wouldn't be in the Championship. The legend. Has he got a Sandbanks top on? Harry Redknapp, good morning.
Jeremy, how you doing?
Have you got a Sandbanks top? Look at that.
Absolutely.
Now, see...
advertising, come on.
No, so listen, here's the thing. Harry's son, Mark, who's a mate of mine, set up this brand, Sandbanks, and I never do this. I wear it all the time. It's utterly brilliant. And I'm watching Jamie on Sky's got Sandbanks on his top. I'm watching Harry on Talk, and I'm thinking I should have worn mine today. We'd have been Sandbanks FM, wouldn't we? How are you, son?
All right, I've got Sandra walking around the road with a placard. You know them old ones. Back in the day. She's doing 3 laps of Sandbanks at the moment.
Well, it's the best. We'll talk more about that. Listen, Max Scott is here, TalkSport reporter as well. Harry, massive night. Just want to be honest. We all get excited, we all get built up, and then something happens and we all go, oh, my God. Genuinely, from your point of view, have we got a chance, or are we just conning ourselves?
We've definitely got a chance, Jeremy. I think it's wide open. You know, I watched France last night. First half, they were very poor against Senegal. Senegal were good. Second half, France were very good. Mbappe got 2 great goals. So they're going to be a big threat. Spain didn't play very well first game. They did, but they'll come... You know, Portugal, there's lots of teams in it who look... I'm not so sure Brazil, they don't look great this tournament. But England, certainly, when you've got Harry Kane in your team up front, you know, you've got to have a chance, haven't you?
I thought, and let's bring Max in as well, if we can split the screen with Harry. I thought, guys, that one of the interesting things about Tuchel's, when he picked the squad, was that he left behind what I would call some really good players like Foden, like Palmer, Trent Alexander-Arnold, as we call him, or Trent Derby. He seems to be going, Harry, on the work, the team ethic, right? That the whole, like, it's not about superstars, it's about playing to the team. We've always asked the question about the golden generation, Gerrard, Lampard, Redknapp, Scholes. How did it not happen? Does this squad look to you like more of a team? I don't know, I'm just asking.
No, I'm not sure. I mean, I'll be honest, if I was a manager and I'm sitting on that bench and 20 minutes to go and we're getting beat up and I'm looking for a bit of, I look behind me and look at the subs and think I've got to make a change. I'd like to see, you know, there's players there, Foden, Palmer, Bowen. They're players that you think, you know, they might just turn the game for me. I think to leave them out the squad was a big shout. But listen, if we win it, the manager, no one can argue, he'll be proved 100% right. If we don't go at least to the semi-final, then he'll be questioned. And you know what happens when you're the England manager. We've seen it over the years. The people have, you know, he'll get almighty stick. There's no doubt about that. That's the way it works. But if he wins it, fantastic. No one could argue with what he's done.
Max, thoughts? You, Harry and I may be seen as old, sandbanks ridden and cynical, but I'd love to think we got a chance, but it's driving me mad. It always drives me mad, mate.
And it'll continue to drive us mad until the World Cup final happens, and if England are in it, they win it. I mean, that's the perennial issue for England, and I think Harry's absolutely right. It all rises and falls on Thomas Tuchel. What England fans want to see is that there's a marked difference between the England under Gareth Southgate, which, let's make no bones about it, was relatively successful. He got England further than any other manager since Alf Ramsey on a consistent basis.
Yep, never quite got there, though,
but he
did we?
never got it over the line. And so what England fans want to see, rather than a drab 1-0 win, is they want to see something emphatic, something like we saw from Argentina last night, something like we saw from the French in the second half. And I think the key player is Harry Kane. And Harry, I'd like to ask you, surely this is Kane, Captain Kane, in the best form and the best physical shape of his life, because it seems to me he's been wrapped in cotton wool by Bayern Munich. He's had a 2-week winter break. He scored 60-odd goals in a League Cup double in Germany. Surely this is the time for him to come to the fore.
Absolutely. I mean, as I say, you know, we're so fortunate really to have him. And we look, I think he certainly, you know, he surely should be if he has a great World Cup, he'll win the Ballon d'Or. He should be winning the Ballon d'Or. I mean, what a season he's had. So to have him up front, he scores, he's a leader. You know, we've got a great chance while he's in the team for sure. But I still worry about us defensively, Max. I look at the back four. I'm not sure it picks itself. You know, they've all got question marks. Reece James, I love him, good top player, but he, you know, can he stay fit? John Stones, love him, great footballer, injured, missed most of the season with injury. Can he stay fit? There's question marks all over that back four. Are they good enough? Are they going to stay fit? That's going to be a problem. Up front, no problem. You know, excellent talent, and we've got Harry, as I say. But it's defensively that I'm concerned about us, really.
You said something interesting about Argentina. I'd like you on this, Harry, both of you, really. When I was a kid, right, the old man's a rugby fan, and he used to say about England, it was always tight and sharp, and you might win 6-3, but they never played expansive rugby. And then I don't know whether it was the 90s or the early 2000s that suddenly they started playing expansive rugby and they won the World Cup. Strikes me, Harry, right, that whenever England go to a tournament, the shackles, that the fear of losing seems to outweigh the fear of playing attractive football and either winning or going down with a smile on your face. Being beaten 4-3 is not the answer. We're going to lose 1-0 or 1-1. Can you ever see us taking the bloody shackles off and going, do you know what? There's been so much disappointment. Let's just give it a go, man, you know?
Well, I think it depends who the manager is, Jeremy. That is the key, isn't it, really, how he wants to play, you know? Is the manager going to be bold enough to go and do that?
Do you think he is, Tuchel? Do you think he's bold? Do you think he'll play expansively?
Well, I don't know. I mean, he hasn't been bold in not taking Palmer, not taking Foden, Bowen. You know, they're real talents who can change a game for you, who can do something special, and he's left them behind. So, is he going to be like that? I'm not so sure he will be. I think he's, you know, he probably will make us difficult to beat. So, but you know. Let's wait and see how we go. And the first game tonight, Croatia, great chance to get off to a winning start. You know, they're a team that have produced fantastic players over the years. Luka Modric, still their best player at 40 years of age. But they're a European team that are not top level anymore. It's a great chance for us to get off with a win tonight.
Let's have a prediction, Max. What do you see tonight, Ben?
I'm going to say England 2-0. I think they'll probably get like an early goal in the first half, maybe a little bit drab throughout, and then a late goal in the second half. Harry Kane to score. That's how I think it's going to happen. Croatia, though, traditionally, you know, in 2018, knocked England out of that semi-final in the World Cup.
Good old West Ham boy.
That's going to be a difficult one. Harry, can I just ask you, because you mentioned the team selection. Yesterday, we heard that Tino Livramento has been sent home with a calf injury. And look, I'm behind Tuchel. You know, I really am. I do think he's got something about him. However, the squad selection has baffled me, Harry, and you've named it. You know, Jared Bowen, Cole Palmer for me, Morgan Gibbs-White. Granted, I'm a Forest season ticket holder, but for me, he was the player in form. But yesterday, instead of bringing in a fullback, right? He brings in Trevor Chalobah, who's a centre-back. And meanwhile, you've got Lewis Hall at Newcastle, who's one of the most, for me, wronged players in this England roster, you could say. And I just cannot fathom that when England come up against, let's say, France in a semi-final, that Dan Burn or Trevor Chalobah is going to be able to deal with the likes of Kylian Mbappe, Ousmane Dembele, etc.
What about Trent Alexander-Arnold, for Christ's sake?
Well,
he doesn't fancy him, does he? Obviously, he doesn't like him for whatever reason. He doesn't as a player. I mean, I don't know personally, but he doesn't fancy him as a player. Otherwise, he would have called him up. I think Chalobah is he's been called up. I think he may be on the list of players that they tell me that Chelsea are looking to move. So for him to get a call up is quite surprising, really.
I want to ask you one other thing, Harry, and it's not political. I'm just interested. The national anthem stuff that we keep getting, he says, Tuchel, he'll only sing it if we reach the final. Doesn't that just make a mess? Doesn't that just cause people to ask questions? Either sing it or don't bloody sing it. It becomes, well, I'll only sing it if we reach the final. How does that make any sense, man?
No, that don't make any sense. I'd be wanting to sing the national anthem. We're proud to be British, and, you know, I'd want to be singing the national anthem. I wouldn't want players to sing it. I think there's nothing... When I see teams line up before a game and they're singing national anthem, I think it's fantastic.
Good man.
I want to see the players singing it and show they're patriotic towards our country, for sure.
Be interesting to see what Tuchel does. Is that a prediction for you, Mr. Redknapp, for tonight? What is it?
Well, I was going to go 2-0, but Max has got up, you know, maybe they might nick a goal because I'm not sure about that, but it might be 2-1. Harry Kane definitely to score. Yeah. All the top players are scoring. Messi, Haaland, you know, Mbappe all started off scoring goals. So leading goal scorer in the tournament is going to be interesting.
Well, you'll all laugh at me. I think they're going to win 3-0. I think they're going to win 3-0. So the big question is, in your Sam Banks top, Harry, I'll have mine on tomorrow. Where are you watching the game tonight? Sandra and a curry or out with the boys?
I'm watching it. Actually, I'm doing something in London tonight. I'm doing it I'm watching it with some people who, you know, are coming to watch the game, and I'm going to do a bit before the game, a bit half time. So yeah, I'm up in London watching it. I'm looking forward to it.
You're a good man, and listen, your boy Mark's a legend. We'll talk more about that business. I'm going to see him next week. And Jamie's doing the business. They're a good family, but we wish you luck. But actually, before you go, West Ham, mate, how depressed am I? What's that all about?
Oh my God, I know it's going to be an interesting summer. So they're going to need to get...
I thought Nuno would go. We get somebody like Scott Parker or Gary Neal and start again. I don't understand it at all. I'd strip it right back.
Yeah, it needs stripping back. People keep saying, oh, it's a shame they're going to lose all our players. Well, I see, well, who's bothered? They're not any good anyway, otherwise they wouldn't have gone down. You've got 2 or 3 players, Bowen, you know...
Fernandes.
You know, yeah, but, you know, if they want to go... Then, you know, I think Bowen will stay. I think he'll probably he'll stick around at West Ham. And if he does, that gives him a big chance to get back up because he's an outstanding player for sure.
Good man. Harry, love to the family, mate. Thank you so much indeed. Max Scott as well. All the action on TalkSport throughout the World Cup. The build-up, when you walk up this corridor, can I just point something out, right? Let me just explain to you what happened to me the other day. This is how crap my life is. I walked in the other day, right, on TalkSport breakfast. I don't know, Kylian Mbappe probably. Chris Evans has got Shania Twain. I've got some politician who's never been on telly. My life's rubbish. Do you know that?
You need to move over to TalkSport, Jess.
Well, maybe, the way things are going. Listen, I'm joking. Who's going to win the World Cup?
England are going to win the World Cup.
Oh, do me a favour.
It's as simple as. What? It's as simple as England are going to win the World Cup.
Really?
We've got the best striker in the world. We've got the best player produced by this country since Wayne Rooney and Jude Bellingham. And we've got a manager, albeit not English, who knows how to win silverware.
But do you understand? But you work at TalkSport. Any place you need. Listen, forget everybody else tonight. TalkSport it is. Harry will be in the car. I'll be in the train listening to it. But But why? I tried to say it about playing expansive football. Why do we seem to have this mental block? Why can you have this golden generation, the best league in the world, the best players in the world, more money in the world, the best training facilities? Declan Rice is what happens? Is it fear?
Of course it's fear.
Expectation.
Of course it's fear. It's fear and expectation, and the longer it's gone on, that sort of ghost, if you like, that has been haunting England since '66 remains. But I am convinced, Jeremy, convinced more than I've ever been, this is the year. In America's backyard on their 250th birthday, it'd be an incredible statement of English talent.
And any money that the person that gives the World Cup to the winning team will be Donald Trump and not the FIFA president. Score prediction, Paul Hamilton, Croatia 2, England 1. Put this to Max, he said, you are all underestimating the underdog.
Croatia are an underdog, and they're underdog because their best players are 40 and above. So
how old's Modric?
Modric is 40.
40?
Ivan Perisic is 37.
I could be playing.
I back Elliot Anderson, who's won more duels than any other midfielder in Europe.
Bitter Nottingham Forest person here, because Elliot Anderson's going to leave.
He is going to leave, but Forest are going to get about 130 million quid, and we're going to be set in the Premier League for the next 5 years.
I don't mean to be rude. Newcastle got 133 million quid for Isak, and they spent that so badly, they're going to get rid of them both again,
Don't remind me of that. I'm trying to be positive, Jeremy. I'm trying to be positive.
You're a good man. Listen, just to repeat, absolutely, TalkSport, the only place you need to go for the biggest football tournament of the world. It kicks off tonight, of course, 9 o'clock, England-Croatia. You know your beer you lot have launched? What's it called?
So Good Lager. And let me tell you, it is so good.
I don't drink lager. Well, I can't drink lager. I can't tell you why, but never mind. But this lager is, again, another example of the unfairness of the system. I mean, TalkSport have launched this So Good Lager. They've teamed up with Meantime. You can get it online, talksport.com/So Good Lager. I don't get lager. I don't get Kylian Mbappe.
If you asked, you would receive, Jeremy.
Can you bring me a bit? For the people who are asking, actually, in all seriousness, all our Neil's pubs and sports bars across the United Kingdom, it's a fantastic addition to TalkSport's World Cup coverage. It's in full swing. It's called All Good. And to be fair, that bunch of reprobates through that window, they could do with a lager. They have to put up with me every day.
Yeah, they're clucking for a couple of pints, they were telling me before I
beg your pardon. What did you say?
Clucking.
Oh, I thought you said something else.
No, absolutely
anyway, TalkSport live and exclusive tonight. England 3, Croatia 0. I said Harry Redknapp 2-1 to England. Max Scott, who once saved me from a yob on a train, and I'm not joking, he's 8'6". He did. He just stood up and the bloke scarpered. Max says 2-0.
2-0.
You're coming back on tomorrow.
I'll be back on tomorrow.
We'll get you back on tomorrow and we'll get the result. Thank you so much indeed to Max and to Harry. Whatever you're doing tonight, So Good Lager's what you need. I'm not going to do that. Be safe. Just go out and have fun. Just England, please. For God's sake, could you please just win the game? Otherwise, it's going to be so depressing. It's depressing enough being in this country and doing this show. I'd like England to give me something to be happy about. Back in 3.
We've got some breaking news that has just come in. TalkSport have announced a brand new partnership in a developing story. We hear they've created So Good Lager right in time for football's big summer. Just in, we're hearing that So Good Lager will be pouring pints across all O'Neill's pubs and some of the best sports pubs across the UK. With the big kickoff just around the corner, you can find out where to get your hands on a fresh pint of So Good Lager at talksport.com/lager.
Across across the UK. On DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. A couple of minutes to 10. Thank you so much indeed for watching and listening to Breakfast this morning. Back tomorrow from 6. Julia Hartley-Brewer, good morning.
Very good morning to you, sir. Have you ever been yachting at the channel lately?
I just... Jane and Al, she said, we're out of booze for the barbecue. Let's take the yacht over to Cherbourg for a booze run. And suddenly a bloody great warship fires at you.
It's just extraordinary. Also, I love the fact this is all being played down by the MOD. No, this is completely normal. No, it's not. No, it's not. No, just had that conviction. There's Russian-backed arson attacks on the Prime Minister's house. We've just had the seizing of a vessel. No, Russia is upping its game. Yeah. All right. What is our response?
Sitting ducks.
Nothing to see here.
No, absolutely.
Sorry.
Nothing to see here, Keir.
No, exactly. Well, Keir Starmer, by the way, he's come out. He says it's hilarious. He says he's going to fight. He's going to fight to stay on.
You would think I was a clairvoyant. At 7:30, I said, I bet you any money the devious little git's going to try and think he can get out of it by going, Burnham, I'll give you a job in Cabinet. As if Andy Burnham's going to do that.
I mean, it's just utterly ridiculous. Again, this is all assumptions on what actually happens on Thursday. But